981. Secrets of the Dharma Transmitter. Lingmu World. Why hasn't the gray mold exploded yet? Li Fan, who had been waiting for almost a month without hearing any news, couldn't help but feel puzzled. Doesn't make sense, After thinking it over and carefully reviewing everything, Li Fan felt that the problem could only lie with that preacher. As expected of one of the highest rulers of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, an existence that has survived since the ancient catastrophe. Although it can't compare to the open black lens bracket hunger close black lens bracket character above the immortal ruins, the destructive power of the gray mold should be above that of an ordinary eternal life realm. To actually be able to resolve it so easily and silently. Perhaps the correct way to use the gray mold is to first secretly erode it from all over the profound yellow world, and then have it explode in multiple places at once. Just as Li Fan, who was proficient in pharmacology, was pondering this, the only intent demon god he had left behind, the one occupied by Mo Rubin, finally arrived late again and sent a message. Brother Xingwang, how are you? Where did this evildoer come from? Li Fan pretended to have forgotten what the other person looked like. Without saying a word, he was about to launch an attack. However, without the help of the myriad demon gods, Li Fan's divine sense power alone was clearly no match for Mo Rubin at this moment. While parrying, Mo Rubin tried to awaken Sun Xingwang's memories. After putting on a show, a faceless stone statue slowly emerged in the empty sea of consciousness, emitting a faint golden light. Li Fan slowly stopped attacking. He stared at Mo Rubin for a long time, and said with a strange expression, "You've finally come. HMPH, we brothers almost couldn't see each other again." Li Fan's tone was unkind and he glared. "Didn't we agree that when the time came, you would directly come forward and take on the task of sweeping away the demon gods? Why did a cunning young man come instead? If it weren't for the blessing of the Supreme Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal at a critical moment, I would have almost fallen for his trick and leaked all my secrets. Is this the result you wanted all along? Using a knife to kill someone?" A trace of killing intent appeared on Li Fan's face. Mo Rubin's expression shook. "Brother Xingwang, don't misunderstand. I didn't expect that the preacher Zhang would choose to take action himself. It's just that the commotion you caused was a bit too big, almost endangering the profound yellow world. To be honest, I was shocked at the time." Mo Rubin's tone was somewhat helpless. So you're saying it's my fault?" Even though the sea of consciousness was bright, Mo Rubin suddenly felt a little gloomy after hearing these words. In order to prevent the other party from going crazy, he quickly changed the subject. "By the way, Brother Xingwang, how exactly did you repel him? Judging from his various actions afterwards, he should have returned without success and gained nothing." Li Fan said impatiently, "I told you it was the blessing of the Supreme Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal. Otherwise, I would have foolishly thought that I was him and he was me." At this point, Mo Rubin finally confirmed that Sun Xingwang had indeed escaped from the hands of Preacher Zhang. After all, only they, the other preachers, knew about Preacher Yang's nature. Mo Rubin inadvertently glanced at the stone statue that was gradually fading away above his head, and seemed to be deep in thought. "However, our ultimate goal has been achieved. This time, I resolved the crisis of the demon gods wreaking havoc. According to the usual practice, I will be responsible for the important affairs of the Immortal Alliance for a period of time. So it's time to force the profound heaven treasure mirror again," Mo Rubin said. Li Fan waved his hand. "It's the same as before, you think of a way, just tell me what you need me to do." Mo Rubin smiled. "Brother Xingwang, you don't need to take action again this time. Just wait patiently, I will contact you again when there is progress. This time, it's mainly to confirm your situation here. After all, Preacher Zhang is really difficult to deal with. I have also been avoiding direct contact with him." Mo Rubin's tone was a bit dignified. "Tell me more about this preacher, so that I won't be caught off guard again if I encounter him in the future." Li Fan also said along with the words. "I wanted to remind you on the day he took action. But at that time, it was the preacher's council, and being able to send a reminder was already the limit. Preacher Zhang is the number one among all the preachers. He has the supreme characteristic of open black lens bracket all things are like me close black lens bracket. That Gui Shu realm was left by Preacher Celestial Venerable, and can infinitely open black lens bracket return to origin close black lens bracket. In addition to Preacher Zhang is also an extremely difficult opponent." This time, Mo Rubin did not hide anything and told everything he knew about the preachers in detail. What needs to be noted is that, except for Preacher Zhang, who has always been unreserved, other preachers more or less have their own unknown secrets. After all, they have been in charge of the highest power of the Myriad Immortals Alliance for so many years, and they have almost countless resources to mobilize. Who knows what strange things they have secretly researched. For example, the previous open black lens bracket Sky Xuantian Arrow close black lens bracket was provided by Preacher Zhao with a mature manufacturing plan. In a conversation, Li Fan not only knew the reason why the gray mold had not erupted. He also obtained a considerable amount of information for the first time about the preachers who were always behind the scenes. Each preacher is a true privileged class of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Their annual contribution share is almost unlimited, and their merit level is also the highest level of derived 49. It's just that they entered the contribution and merit level system in order to maintain the Immortal Alliance system. The preachers exist depending on the profound yellow world and the Tao established by the preacher Celestial Venerable. Although they can no longer attain eternal life from now on, they can still live as long as the heavens and the earth and remain immortal. Moreover, it is said that even if they fall due to some reason, they can be reborn into the world through some method of restoring open black lens bracket back up close black lens bracket. Of course, things like preachers being attacked and falling due to some reason have never happened since the birth of the Immortal Alliance. So Mo Rubin didn't know its authenticity either. There are a total of 18 preachers, and they have not changed since the founding of the Immortal Alliance. And it will never change in the future. They are the true high-level members of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, and any so-called systems and laws of the Myriad Immortals Alliance have lost their effect on them. Only the resolutions within the Preachers' Council can affect them. They also have privileges that ordinary cultivators would not dare to think of. For example, requisition. Within the territory of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, if they take a fancy to any cultivator, no matter for what reason, they have the power to conscript this cultivator into their own small world. And the selected cultivator will disappear as if they have evaporated from the world. No information will be saved. For thousands of years, the preachers have been doing this. 982. Lost Fishing Pond. Upon entering a transmitting Dharma practitioner's small world, cultivators can also enjoy the characteristic of immortality. Even Feng, the transmitting Dharma practitioner who is least enthusiastic about collecting talent, whose body I occupy, has thousands of true geniuses in his small world. One can imagine just how deep the foundations of the other transmitting Dharma practitioners are. Mo Rubin sighed. Hearing this, a scene couldn't help but appear before Li Fan's eyes. The Xuanwang realm was like a field, and for thousands of years, cultivators were like crops in the field, growing one after another. The mediocre were harvested, while the true essence was carefully preserved by those transmitting Dharma practitioners. No wonder the Myriad Immortals Alliance's trump cards seem endless, bringing me surprises every lifetime. And this is just the transmitting Dharma practitioner lineage. Within the Immortal Alliance, there are also the Mirror Holders and the Illusionary Sage, two parallel lineages. Compared to them, the Five Elders Council seems somewhat. As Li Fan thought this, he snorted coldly, treating the world's cultivators as what? They truly deserve to die. Mo Rubin also nodded, expressing his agreement. If the Zan Heavenly King returns, he will surely purge them all. Li Fan did not agree, but pretended to be lost in thought. Zan Heavenly King, Zan Heavenly King. Such a familiar name. Seeing that Li Fan was a bit confused again, Mo Rubin was also a little helpless. Fortunately, it's only intermittent, not affecting important matters. Thinking this, Mo Rubin tirelessly awakened Li Fan again, and explained the relevant matters if there was any further progress. Only then did he leave Li Fan's divine sense space. After a long time, Li Fan recovered from his disguise. Transmitting Dharma practitioner Zhang should have returned to the origin together with the gray mold. No wonder I haven't been waiting for an attack, it seems to have been a narrow escape. However, this transmitting Dharma practitioner Yang's nature seems to be a transformation of immortal artifacts left in the Xuanwang realm. There is currently no good way to prevent it. Even if I know in advance, I can't be immune to its effects. Even though Li Fan had the Xuanwang Immortal Heart Mantra to protect him, transmitting Dharma practitioner Yang's nature seemed to directly change his own attributes and nature. Rather than causing confusion in the mind and perception of others, because it never triggered the protective effect of the Immortal Heart Mantra from beginning to end. Before the Great Calamity, all the immortal artifacts in the Xuanwang realm instantly went missing. I didn't expect some to have transformed into people. Interesting. Since he hasn't really been exposed, then there's no need to reveal the truth. This lifetime's plan must continue. But Li Fan did not relax his vigilance, and his mind was still connected to the spirit wood realm. Maybe that transmitting Dharma practitioner Zhang is even deceiving his own people, it's his diversionary tactic. Li Fan decided to wait and see. What needs to be done now is one word: wait. In the conversation with Mo Rubin just now, he mentioned the possibility of strengthening the open black lens bracket Zon Heavenly Lock Nether close black lens bracket formation to further force the Zon Heavenly Treasure Mirror. He, Sun Xingwang, and Mo Rubin are not good at formations, and the people in the Immortal Alliance's formation strategy hall may not be truly reliable. So, he needs to borrow external objects. Perhaps considering that there will be a need to repair the open black lens bracket floating crossing starry sky great formation close black lens bracket in the future, Mo Rubin only pondered for a moment before agreeing with what Li Fan said. He promised that after returning, he would look for any rare treasures that could deduce formations. If I can absorb the disintegration disks that are 9 in 1 again, my formation deduction ability will usher in another qualitative change. At that time, I'm afraid I can easily decipher the open black lens bracket reversing life and death great formation close black lens bracket. Perhaps then I can find the true identity of that life and death heavenly lord. Li Fan's plan to sit in the spirit wood realm without moving was forced to end half a month later by a message from Lin Ling. Even though she was already a Dao integration expert, Lin Ling's tone was as panicked as a child. Lord, Master, Senior Stone Slab, he's gone. That small pond has also disappeared. Li Fan's heart shook, and he stood up abruptly. The treasure fishing pond and Senior Stone Slab are both gone. What's going on? With a few hints of anxiety rising in his heart, Li Fan was about to rush to the small temple in the mountain immediately. However, when he recalled some of Lin Ling's previous performances, Li Fan suddenly stopped. He said in a deep voice, "What's the panic? With Senior Stone Slab's strength, who in the Xuanwang realm can hurt him?" Describe the situation at that time in detail. Yes, Master. Lin Ling still described the abnormality when it occurred in a panic. It turned out that after Senior Stone Slab sat in the fishing pond to comprehend the Tao, he had been like a statue, motionless. Originally, out of respect and fear for Senior Stone Slab, Lin Ling and the young Taoist boy, Luli, always kept a distance. However, as time passed, their courage grew. After realizing that even if they got very close, it would not cause any reaction from Senior Stone Slab, they would often approach him. They wanted to take a closer look at this strange Senior Stone Slab. Originally, Lin Ling was a little scared, but after being pulled by the young Taoist boy, Luli, she also found that nothing would happen. She became even more presumptuous. Sister Lin Ling, the closer you are to Senior Stone Slab, the more benefits there are. The young Taoist boy, Luli, sat on the ground with her eyes greedily looking up at Senior Stone Slab. Lin Ling also felt that there was a different kind of Tao rhythm fluctuation around Senior Stone Slab. It seemed to be able to cause resonance with other laws of heaven and earth. After only a moment, many intermittent pictures naturally appeared in her mind. Mysterious and profound, involving different principles of heaven and earth. Even for her, a Tao integration cultivator, it was of great benefit. I later realized that it was Senior Stone Slab comprehending the open black lens bracket fishing close black lens bracket Tao to the most critical moment. Therefore, it caused resonance with the principles of the world's heaven and earth. But I was immersed in the benefits of comprehending the Tao at the time and did not notice it. Until not long ago, the Tao rhythm fluctuations suddenly became agitated. That feeling. It's like a calm water surface suddenly stirring up huge waves. There was a hint of fear in Lin Ling's tone. In the fishing pond, it seemed like something was pulling hard. Senior Stone Slab, without any warning, was pulled forward a step. The expression on Senior Stone Slab's face at that time was very strange, with surprise and fear. It was like an invisible line tied him to something in the fishing pond. They were wrestling with each other, neither willing to let go. And then, Lin Ling paused, and said in horror, "Suddenly, Senior Stone Slab disappeared out of thin air in front of us, as if he was dragged into the fishing pond." What's even more terrifying is that we later discovered that the fishing pond is no longer working. There should be 1 or 2 chapters around 2 o'clock. 983. Recreate the Wonders of Heaven and Earth monthly tickets Det 237. Hearing Lin Ling's description, Li Fan lowered his guard against her by more than half. This kind of bizarre thing. It doesn't seem like she could make it up. Imagining the scene of the stone slab senior being fished away in his mind, even with Li Fan's current state of mind, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. When you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. When you are fishing, how can you know that you won't be the one being fished? Being able to connect inside and outside the high wall, the water in this supreme treasure fishing pond is a bit too deep. Li Fan pondered for a moment, deciding that he couldn't just listen to Lin Ling's side of the story. He had to go to the scene himself. Thinking like this, Li Fan concealed his whereabouts and rushed towards Yongyan Prefecture with all speed. When he arrived at the small temple, neither Zhang Shentong, nor Luli, nor Lin Ling, had obviously recovered from the great terror of the stone slab senior's sudden disappearance. Their faces were panicked, and they were restless. "Master, you've arrived." Seeing Li Fan's arrival, Lin Ling seemed to have found her backbone and hurried forward to greet him. Zhang Shentong also shook himself slightly and gave a salute. Li Fan just nodded slightly, and then strode to the original location of the fishing pond. The originally calm pond of water was now only a complete void. Like the Kongyan Sea after being destroyed by Mo Sha, it was pitch black. Even space itself did not exist. The dangerous aura that it exuded couldn't help but make Li Fan frown slightly and quietly take a step back. The fishing pond is indeed overbearing, self-contained. After occupying a region of the Xuanwang world, it expelled all other laws here, or rather, directly squeezed and annihilated them. And with the disappearance of the fishing pond, the occupied area is revealed. It may take decades for the Xuanwang world to repair itself to return to normal. Li Fan pondered as he discerned the possible residual aura here. Originally, Li Fan didn't have much hope, but what he didn't expect was that he actually found something. "This is..." Li Fan's eyes flashed, but on the surface, he put on a disappointed expression as if he had gained nothing. Then, on the grounds that this place was dangerous, he took Lin Ling and the others back to the Spirit Wood world. After settling them down, Li Fan quietly returned alone. He closed his eyes and concentrated, recalling the feeling when he was one with the Azure Sea Pearl, which was also the state of the world's perspective under the faceless killing intent. Stars and dots appeared in the darkness. Colorful scenery was presented in Li Fan's vision. Outside the void abyss left by the fishing pond, there were countless intersecting, subtle thin lines. The number of thin lines was increasing at a perceptible rate. It was as if there was an invisible spinning machine weaving something in the void. This scene was very similar to the scene Li Fan had once seen in the Root of Heaven and Earth when the Five Elements Grotto Heaven was being created. This was the world creating things in its own way. And what was being created at this moment? Creation stone slab. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes revealing a strange color. This thing, which had already revealed some initial form, was no different from the creation stone slab carried on the back of the stone slab senior, which was said to record everything in the Xuanwang world since the beginning of time. In addition to the shock in his heart, Li Fan's thoughts turned sharply, and he immediately deduced the reason why the creation stone slab appeared here again. The creation stone slab is the embodiment of the laws of the Xuanwang world, and can be said to be the Xuanwang world itself. The world itself naturally cannot be fished away by the unknown existence in the depths of the fishing pond. So although the stone slab senior disappeared, the creation stone slab he carried was retained due to the inertia of the world. It seems that senior has finally got his wish and regained his freedom. I just don't know what the scene is like on the other side of the fishing pond. Thinking of the possible scenes outside the high wall, Li Fan was slightly stunned. In the end, he shook his head and concentrated on the increasingly obvious creation stone slab. This stone slab is undoubtedly a treasure of the Xuanwang world. As long as it is refined, the countless secrets once hidden in the Xuanwang world will be unobstructed in front of Li Fan. Maybe even ascend to the sky in one step and directly obtain immortality. But it is an immortality that is deeply bound to the Xuanwang world. Moreover, Li Fan clearly saw the pain suffered by Stone Slab Sr., and even death was a relief in comparison. More importantly, Li Fan was worried that this thing, like Ruomu and the heavenly Tao Mr. Bai, would have an effect on his mind. Then come again with, really returned but unwilling. Finally, bear the stone slab for eternity. Judging from the experience of confronting the heavenly Tao Mr. Bai, the influence of the mind cannot be avoided even by the clone. It seems that we need to find a suitable candidate to inherit this creation stone slab. Must be both mentally strong enough not to become a madman on the spot. And must be able to be used by me at least. The figures of monks flashed quickly in Li Fan's mind. Li Fan knew that he didn't have much time left. The world is reweaving the creation stone slab, like a fruit bearing on a tree. The moment the creation stone slab is completely formed is the moment the fruit falls to the ground. I am afraid it will return to a certain place in the Xuanwang world and be difficult to find again. It's him. Li Fan finally decided on the target candidate, and then protected his body with colorful divine light, turning into a rainbow and heading straight for the Kangyun Sea. Before long, he had already found the target monk. It was Sima Changkong, who recorded the history of the Xuanwang world with his family's bloodline. Sima Changkong in this life has no intersection with Li Fan, so he was a little surprised by Li Fan's sudden visit. However, Li Fan was not here to solicit his opinion. Without saying a word, he instantly subdued Sima Changkong. Then he quickly returned to the small temple in Yongyan Prefecture with him. On the way, he told the whole story. Now, there is an opportunity to see all the past of the Xuanwang world. Are you willing to accept it? Li Fan asked in a deep voice. Obviously, Sima Changkong, who has been committed to recording Xuanwang history for generations, has no reason to refuse this matter. Everything that is happening in the Xuanwang world will always appear in his mind. This is not pain for Sima Changkong at all, but a perfect ability that is almost exciting and dreamed of by the Sima family. At least, before truly absorbing the stone slab, Sima Changkong thought so. Writing the history of Xuanwang, who else but me? I also hope that fellow Taoist will help. Sima Changkong took a deep breath and respectfully saluted Li Fan. Although he didn't know how the other party knew his identity, if what he said was true. Sima Changkong was willing to pay anything for it. Good, Li Fan agreed in a deep voice. And wait for the opportunity. 7 days later, at the moment before the creation stone slab was about to be completely formed, Li Fan shouted softly and cast that silk extraction magic power on Sima Changkong. I saw Sima Changkong's body cracking inch by inch, as if turning into silk threads, floating in the air. 984. Slate turned history book. Open black lens bracket silk extraction close black lens bracket divine power, was comprehended by Li Fan when he was transformed into a silk thread villain in the open black lens bracket root of heaven and earth close black lens bracket. Returning to the origin, tracing back to the beginning of the world's existence. In Li Fan's vision, the horizontal and vertical silk threads weaving the creation stone tablet became increasingly dense. This also meant that this supreme treasure of heaven and earth was about to be completely formed. Li Fan guided the silk threads extracted from Sima Changkong's body, attempting to connect them with the creation stone tablet. In fact, Li Fan wasn't very confident about this. After all, it was his first time seeing the real creation stone tablet. However, it would be a real pity to just watch it disappear before his eyes. Just give it a try. To Li Fan's surprise, as the silk threads transformed from Sima Changkong approached, without any deliberate manipulation, a suction force seemed to emanate from the stone tablet. The threads quickly tightened, and then were continuously drawn into the silk threads weaving the stone tablet. Like a ball of thread being completely unwound in an instant, Sima Changkong's body completely dissipated. The flickering stone tablet also seemed to be stained with some dust. Li Fan became vigilant, retreated a little to a safe position, and carefully observed. Like fallen leaves returning to their roots, or ripe fruit falling to the ground, after the stone tablet was recreated by heaven and earth, there were no unusual phenomena around it. The simple, cyan gray stone tablet showed no signs of being a rare treasure. It floated quietly in the air. Perhaps due to the traction of the silk threads transformed from Sima Changkong, the creation stone tablet did not go to other places. It still remained in this mountain temple. It seemed that Li Fan's attempt had been successful. But what Li Fan found strange was that Sima Changkong did not reappear. He just disappeared, or perhaps he merged with the creation stone tablet. Li Fan speculated. While Li Fan was still secretly observing, new changes occurred on the creation stone tablet. Suddenly, dense, blood-red characters emerge on the stone tablet, and then these characters flowed like blood, turning into trickling streams. Subsequently, more and more blood characters appeared, and the trickling streams gradually turned into torrential rivers, covering the entire stone tablet. A dazzling red light burst out instantly. When Li Fan looked again, he found that the entire stone tablet was flipped over like a page, virtually covering the outside of the stone tablet. This is. Li Fan's pupils shrank. The changes to the stone tablet continued. Page after page of stone tablets filled with blood-colored characters flipped like paper, faster and faster. The main body of the stone tablet also became thinner and thinner. Finally, after completing all the transformations, a stone book emitting a faint blood golden light appeared before Li Fan. Compared with the previous creation stone tablet, this stone book had a bit more sacred, vicissitudes of life, and ancient aura. The strange phenomena gradually subsided, and the light overflowing from the stone book slowly converged. It hung quietly in the air. However, Li Fan keenly noticed that the stone book seemed to be slowly fading. Not disappearing or changing position, but hiding itself. I'm afraid that in this world, there will no longer be the Sima family's open black lens bracket bloodline history book close black lens bracket. Instead, there is the open black lens bracket creation history book close black lens bracket before me. After observing for a long time, Li Fan had a faint feeling in his heart. It seems that with Sima Chengkong's strength, it is not enough to become a qualified carrier like the Stone Tablet Senior. But by chance, the bloodline history book in his body has had a rather strange influence on the creation stone tablet. Well, perhaps, this is still the will of the heavenly Tao of the Xuanwang world deliberately bringing about this change. Standing in front of the creation history book for a long time, Li Fan pondered to himself. With the birth of the creation history book, the space filled with nothingness was filled. The silent and extinct area, which was originally pitch black, returned to normal. It's just that it's still the same as the previous fishing pool. Under normal circumstances, monks cannot see this creation history book at all. Except for existences like Li Fan who witnessed its birth, or those who need a certain opportunity to be fortunate enough to observe it. Slowly walking to the creation history book, the scene before Li Fan's eyes suddenly changed. A blood-colored river, like a waterfall, fell from the sky, occupying Li Fan's entire vision. In that river, Li Fan vaguely saw countless rapidly changing pictures. Just a slight glance made Li Fan feel a little dizzy and was forced to look away. The power of the creation history book itself has protection to prevent the peeping of external creatures. After resting for a while, Li Fan looked towards the blood-colored river again. This time, he only had a macro overview, without focusing on the details in the river. As expected, the accumulated dizziness was much weaker. This time, Li Fan had new discoveries. This blood-colored river is constantly generating and endlessly lengthening. Those are the things that are happening in the Xuanwang world at this moment. From a visual perspective, Li Fan only felt that he was being washed by the blood-colored river, and was getting farther and farther away from the source of the river. If he wanted to see the surrounding things clearly, he could barely do it by opening his eyes wide. But if he wanted to overlook and peep at the end of the river, he would have to resist the powerful pressure accumulated all the way against the current. Being in the blood-colored river, Li Fan felt a burst of mental fatigue before long. Just like experiencing a reincarnation in a short period of time, he actually had an inexplicable urge to take a nap. Fortunately, the Xuanwang Immortal Heart mantra spontaneously operated and transformed the feeling of weakness in his heart. Li Fan immediately became alert and temporarily retreated from the blood-colored river. He then realized that, without knowing when, there was an extra strand of white hair on his head. Li Fan subconsciously looked at the open black lens bracket still true close black lens bracket panel. Name: Li Fan. Realm: mid-nascent soul stage. Physiological age: 63 599ths. Psychological age: 1379 9999ths. Now it's only anchored for 13 years, the physiological age should be 32. It's already 63. But the psychological age has not changed. It seems that the protection of the Xuanwang Immortal Heart mantra has worked. It seems that the creation history book is indeed not something that mortals can peep at. Li Fan frowned slightly. It's not just the problem of accelerated aging. All the information from the beginning of the Xuanwang world is stored in it. That blood-colored river is too vast and turbulent. If you really want to find the information you need, how to locate the key time nodes is even more difficult. Otherwise, I'm afraid that before I find the desired goal, I will die of old age. Unless the longevity realm, which is as long-lived as heaven and earth, or a large enough group that is not afraid of death, launches an exploration of different nodes of the blood-colored river. Each time they bring back some useful information, they can always complete the history like a jigsaw puzzle. Li Fan sighed slightly. Sure enough, it's still a bit whimsical. How can the strange objects that can create the longevity realm be so easily mastered? But the creation history book is now fixed here, which is also a great opportunity for me. There are 2 more chapters to be updated around 2 o'clock. Don't wait, go to sleep first. 985. Secrets of Lingyuan Sect. Currently, the biggest resources Li Fan possesses, besides the experience, strength, and knowledge gained from multiple reincarnations of open black lens bracket still real close black lens bracket, are the countless mortals existing in that small world. Under the day and night transformation of open black lens bracket heaven and earth furnace close black lens bracket, all these mortals are potential future cultivators. Moreover, they are cultivators who can be used by Li Fan. Now, he is almost one step away from building a true myriad worlds federation. The only obstacle is the scarcity of cultivation methods due to the incompatibility of different cultivation paths. Before tricking the Dharma derivation jade into his hands, Li Fan had already thought of a preliminary alternative. That was the open double angle bracket mortal spirit origin art close double angle bracket of the former spirit origin sect. The more people who practice this cultivation method simultaneously, the faster the cultivation speed. It is enough to offset the negative effects caused by the incompatibility of different cultivation paths. Previously, the Dharma avatar of Heavenly Venerable of Teachings descended upon 9 Mountain State, leveling the 9 mountains with a single glance. The Spirit Origin Sect headquarters was thus destroyed. However, there are still Spirit Origin Sect members in the world who know the open double angle bracket mortal Spirit Origin art close double angle bracket. Because the number of cultivators practicing the Spirit Origin art has sharply decreased, the beneficial effects of the cultivation method cannot offset the negative effects of the incompatibility of different cultivation paths. Therefore, these people have all changed their cultivation methods. The followers of the Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal also spent a lot of effort to find information about one of the hidden members. Previously, the clone Li Qing had quietly gone to bring him back to the Spirit Wood world for interrogation. Even if ordinary people can't last long in the river of blood, if there are cultivators from the small world rushing forward to fill it with their lives, eventually, all the hidden history can be reproduced. Li Fan's thoughts surged as his gaze fell upon the creation history book once more. Of course, if I want them to work for me, simple oppression is definitely not enough. I still have to lure them with benefits. Thinking this way, Li Fan formed hand seals and rebuilt the protective formation covering this small temple in the mountains. Previously, because the treasure fishing pool could not be transferred at all, Li Fan had only simply set up a formation here. Now, although the creation history book also hides itself spontaneously, its level is lower than the fishing pool after all. Moreover, it cannot be ruled out that it could be forcibly transferred by some old monsters in the Xuanwang world if discovered. Li Fan, who already regarded it as his own, certainly would not allow this to happen. The end dissolution disk in his mind emitted a faint white light, and the latest iteration of the formation was formed by Li Fan. Without new formation data input, the derivation and evolution speed of the dissolution disk has fallen into a bottleneck. Either there is a completely new formation, or we have to wait for news from Mo Rubin and the 9 dissolution disks of this world. As the materials stored in the cave slowly dwindled, the highest level formation that this end dissolution disk could currently derive gradually descended into the world. The formation level surpassed the current Xuanwang world by a full 2 generations. Compared to it, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance's protective formation was as crude as a child's toy construction. This formation can be called open black lens bracket endless void formation close black lens bracket. After completing the formation, Li Fan took a deep breath. And, as the name suggests, has pushed the path of formation to the end. Void represents the nature of the formation. Referencing the open black lens bracket hidden world concealed space close black lens bracket restriction technique taught by the heavenly physician earlier, and combining it with countless concealment formations, the hiding ability of this void formation may have reached the extreme of the Xuanwang world. The area covered by the formation can almost be said to be its own world. Even if a Dao integration cultivator comes to investigate carefully, they may not be able to detect any clues. If a longevity realm expert only scans roughly with their divine sense and does not carefully inspect, the result would probably be the same. In addition to the function of concealment, the basic functions of protection and counterattack are also available in the endless void formation. However, compared to its concealment ability, they are weaker, so I won't elaborate too much. All believers of the Red Dust Compassionate Immortal can directly face the river of time. If they bring back a fragment of time from it, they can receive the blessing of the true immortal. In an instant, Li Fan had already fabricated his rhetoric in his mind. Now that the heaven and earth furnaces of the Empire and the leaving world have been set up, this plan can be tried soon. As the saying goes, those who labor with their minds govern others, while those who labor with their strength are governed by others. With a better and more efficient method, Li Fan would naturally not personally risk himself in the river of blood. Dispatching cultivators from myriad worlds to work for him is the right way. Reproducing the lost history in the river of blood. This is called open black lens bracket mending the heavens close black lens bracket. Li Fan was quite pleased with himself for giving it such a domineering name. Li Fan was not at ease with just having a peerless formation guarding the mending the heavens site. After summoning Tian Yang and ordering him to watch over this place, Li Fan left. Of course, before leaving, he did not forget to tell Tian Yang not to try to watch the river of blood. Perhaps only Tian Yang would not be curious about it and insist on trying to court death. Tian Yang just sat quietly on the ground, guarding the creation history book in a daze. He did not feel any interest in the treasure that recorded all the history of the Xuanwang world. In the Spirit Wood world, Zhang Shintong and the Taoist boy, Lu Li, who had just arrived, were shocked by the magnificent scenery of the Myriad Worlds Federation headquarters. Lin Ling, who had not returned for a long time, was also very surprised by the changes in the Spirit Wood world. When the tree-person female patriarch, Lin Xin, appeared in front of her in human form, Lin Ling's expression shook violently and a complex look flashed in her eyes. None of these subtle changes escaped the eyes of Li Fan, who was in harmony with the mind of the Spirit Wood world. As expected, I guessed right. This little guy really has some other thoughts. Li Fan sneered. It's not quite appropriate to call it rebellion, but it's just that she has a thought in her heart that she is unwilling to submit to Li Fan. After all, when she was enlightened by Li Fan and willingly acknowledged him as her master, she was just beginning to develop her intelligence and was ignorant. Li Fan's strength at that time was much weaker than hers, but she still sincerely surrendered. However, over the years, she has been in constant communication with the earth vein ancient tree, and her mind has grown rapidly. Moreover, Li Fan has not shown his true strength in front of her. In her eyes, Li Fan is just a slightly stronger nascent soul cultivator. It's normal to have some small thoughts. Li Fan had already noticed this, which is why he did not go immediately after receiving her message earlier. However, Li Fan doesn't care what Lin Ling thinks. As long as she has no rebellious behavior and still loyally executes Li Fan's orders, then everything is fine. Otherwise, Li Fan sneered in his heart, his figure flashed, and he came to the central underground secret room. Hasn't he been interrogated yet? The clone Li Qing's face was a little serious. I did ask, but it's a bit strange. This open black lens bracket mortal spirit origin art close black lens bracket, I can't cultivate it at all. It's not that it has no effect, but it's impossible to even get started. The clone Li Qing emphasized. I'll make the last chapter tomorrow, can't stay up anymore. 986. Puppet of Blood and Flesh Training Monthly Tickets Det 337. Can't cultivate. The clone, Li Qing, was refined using the essence blood of Su Yuqing, the incarnation of the heavenly Tao from the boundaryless heaven, and established its Tao foundation with the heaven's bizarre black sword. It's impossible for there to be a situation where talent is insufficient to even begin practicing a technique. It seems to be a limitation of the open double angle bracket common people spirit origin art close double angle bracket itself. Li Fan turned his gaze to the spirit origin sect disciple slumped in the corner. Interesting, they clearly know the content of the technique, but there is no memory of the spirit origin art in their souls. I can only find out by interrogation under torture. Is this technique stored within the physical body? Li Fan scanned the unconscious disciple with his divine sense, carefully examining him. With Li Fan's current understanding of the human body, he quickly discovered the clues. Within the body of the spirit origin sect disciple, there was a layer of imprints, engraved in the flesh and blood, forming some kind of unique mark. This mark seemed to have no effect on the physical body, but Li Fan keenly sensed the traces of the technique's operation remaining on it. Even if this spirit origin sect disciple has switched to a new technique, the marks left by the years of operating the technique have not faded away at all. The imprint stores the technique and is also a kind of authentication. Only those who meet the authentication can practice the open double angle bracket common people spirit origin art close double angle bracket. Soon after, Li Fan removed his divine sense from the spirit origin sect disciple, who was now just a pool of flesh and blood. It wasn't that he was cruel and merciless, wanting to kill and silence him. But when he spied on the Spirit Origin Art imprint, he triggered its built-in protection. The imprint self-destructed, tearing the disciple's body apart in the process. Fortunately, Li Fan had already completely recorded all the imprints before this happened. Even if it was extremely complex, the Stone of Transformation could perfectly replicate it with just one glance. Li Fan narrowed his eyes and danced in the void with his hand as a pen. The Spirit Origin Art imprint gradually took shape. Its shape was like a human, composed of more than 128,000 different parts, interlocked with each other. The moment the imprint reappeared, as if it had its own spirituality, it actually moved. First, it confusedly discerned the direction around it, and then slowly floated towards the pool of rotten mud on the ground. Li Fan did not stop it, but just watched what would happen. After the human-shaped imprint attached to the flesh and blood, the flesh that had originally lost its vitality actually began to squirm. Using the imprint as a skeleton and flesh and blood as clothing. Redressed. The whole process was quite eerie, but what surprised Li Fan even more was what came next. Although the technique imprint reshaped the body, it did not revive the believer. It was just a walking corpse, and even its appearance was not repaired. Purely of flesh and blood tissue fused together, its first thing after its appearance, and its only mission, was to sit cross-legged and then operate the open double-angle bracket Common People Spirit Origin Art close double-angle bracket. Spiritual energy slowly gathered into the body of the flesh and blood creation, and before long, Li Fan sensed the fluctuations of the technique's operation from it. Like a machine made of flesh and blood, even without the believer's life as a carrier, it could always practice the open double-angle bracket Common People Spirit Origin Art close double-angle bracket tirelessly. The flesh and blood machine had no wisdom or knowledge, ignoring Li Fan and Li Qing, but only followed the established instructions and performed its task. No wonder the mysterious Spirit Origin sect master was initially able to find enough cultivators to practice, so that the technique's increase directly reached the threshold to offset the side effects of not being able to practice multiple techniques at the same time. It turns out that he relied on these flesh and blood puppets without their own consciousness. A look of interest flashed in Li Fan's eyes. After death, they can still operate the technique with their flesh and blood instinct, relying on that kind of imprint. I have never heard of it before. It seems that this Spirit Origin sect master is also a person with secrets. It's a pity that even if the heavenly Venerable Dharma idol takes action, it's no different from an ant, and it's hard to escape death. Of course, it is not ruled out that the Spirit Origin sect master was not in Nine Mountain State at the time and was lucky enough to escape. Just verify it now. At Li Fan's suggestion, the clone Li Qing immediately sat cross-legged and engraved the Spirit Origin Art imprint in his body. The main body carefully felt the subtle changes in the body as the imprint continued to increase. Only after the imprint was completely reproduced and connected into one, Li Fan vaguely noticed its influence on the flesh and blood. To put it simply, it's like stamping a seal on the body. Practice the Common People Spirit Origin Art, Li Fan said, narrowing his eyes. Li Qing nodded slightly and tried to operate the Spirit Origin Art again. This time, there were no obstructions and he quickly mastered the basics. Besides us, no one else in the entire Xuanwang realm is practicing this technique anymore. It seems that the Spirit Origin sect master is really dead. Li Fan shook his head. The reason is very simple. Although the Spirit Origin sect master himself may not have practiced the Spirit Origin Art, this technique must have been of great use to him. Otherwise, he would not have bothered to create the Spirit Origin sect and spread the technique everywhere. If he was still alive, he would definitely regroup. With the method of controlling flesh and blood puppets with imprints, it would not be difficult to make a comeback. But such a long time has passed since the destruction of Nine Mountain State, and no new cultivators have started practicing the Spirit Origin Art. Even those who had practiced it before have all given up. No matter how many plans you have, in the face of absolute strength, it is ultimately useless. The Spirit Origin sect master died innocently, but the legacy he left behind benefited Li Fan. Although this Common People Spirit Origin Art definitely has secrets, it does not prevent Li Fan from using it first. Then slowly crack it. Let's go and create some flesh and blood puppets and start operating the Spirit Origin Art, Li Fan ordered. Li Qing then took the order and left. If everything goes smoothly, cultivators can be continuously produced in the small world soon. I don't expect them to be able to confront the Five Elders Association head-on, I just need them to help me open Black Lens bracket mend the heavens close Black Lens bracket. The river of blood is almost endless, and the time span is too long. However, most of the history is irrelevant, the most critical nodes. Xuantian king returned from the Immortal Realm passage and founded the Xuantian sect, until his mysterious disappearance. The late period of the Immortal Tao 10 sects, rule, the Heavenly Venerable of spreading the law rose up, and Mr. Bai achieved the ancient and modern dual law Heavenly Venerable. Quote. First, figure out what happened during these two periods. Li Fan knew very well that relying on these small world cultivators to obtain historical fragments from the creation history book was like fishing in a fishing pond. It is full of randomness, and what you get depends entirely on luck. However, when the number of attempts is large enough, you can always obtain something valuable. Li Qing's efficiency is very high. Cultivating the technique still requires considering the influence of the immortal mortal miasma. In an emergency, he finally took the materials from the Xuanwang realm. However, after more than 10 days, he created enough flesh and blood puppets. As for the many Foundation establishment cultivators who disappeared for no reason within the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, it did not cause much of a stir at all. Count yesterday's 987, cultivating monks with flowing water. In the Spirit Wood realm, within the ancient sect, area designated by Li Fan. Between the Medicine King sect and the Heavenly Calculation sect, on a wide, flat stone plaza, bloody aura soared to the sky. A full 500 blood and flesh puppets sat cross-legged, instinctively circulating the open double-angle bracket mortal spirit origin art close double-angle bracket. It's thanks to your extraordinary speed that you can travel to each state and capture some cultivators. Otherwise, if the disappearances of these cultivators were all concentrated in 1 or 2 states, it would definitely arouse the vigilance of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, Li Fan said with a smile. He casually arranged formations on the plaza, concealing these blood and flesh puppets while also dispelling the heavy bloody smell. That's not necessarily true. The defensive strength of the Myriad Immortals Alliance at the grassroots level has not recovered so quickly. Many places are basically undefended. Moreover, all those I captured are the most basic Foundation establishment cultivators. The Myriad Immortals Alliance may not really care, Li Qing shook her head and said. That's true, the Myriad Immortals Alliance is probably busy building the Eternal Immortal Wall and dealing with the million cultivators who have lost consciousness. The disaster of gods and demons, although it did not hurt the Myriad Immortals Alliance to its bones, it did reduce its control over the grassroots level. I am afraid that it will not be long before a large-scale Immortal Alliance entry examination will be held again. The main body and the clone exchanged words with each other. Until, above the plaza, many almost imperceptible, subtle sounds suddenly emerged. Like the sound of gears turning, ringing out on every blood and flesh puppet. Superimposed, resonated, and finally turned into a crisp, unified sound. Da-da, the main body and the clone exchanged a glance. It's quite considerate. After reaching the threshold, it will actually take the initiative to remind us. This Spirit Origin Sect Master is also a wonderful person. Li Fan couldn't help but appreciate him even more, and decided that he must meet him in the next life. How is it? Li Fan asked, looking at the clone who was circulating the open double-angle bracket mortal spirit origin art close double-angle bracket. In fact, he had already clearly sensed the increase in cultivation within the clone's body through synchronized perception. However, he still asked with a wicked sense of humor. Well, although the increase is very slow, it can barely be cultivated. Next, as the number of people cultivating the spirit origin art continues to increase, the efficiency of the cultivation method will also slowly increase. Until it reaches a limit, Li Qing analyzed while continuing to cultivate. Well, it's time to promote it in the small world, Li Fan nodded. Mass-produce heaven and earth furnaces to revive the spiritual energy of the small world. Then, use the profound yellow heart cleansing mantra and supporting medicinal materials to remove the immortal mortal barrier from the bodies of mortals. Even if the probability of success is not high, as long as the base number is large enough, there is no need to worry about the number of cultivators that can be mass-produced. Finally, let them all cultivate the open double-angle bracket mortal spirit origin art close double-angle bracket and mass-produce low-end cultivators. In this process, if anyone with extraordinary talent or unique skills is discovered, they can be absorbed as official members of the Myriad Worlds Association. Grant them true cultivation methods. As for other cultivators with low utilization value, they will be sent to enter the bloody river one after another. A process like an assembly line has been basically determined. Although it sounds very simple, it was only after Li Fan integrated the various opportunities he encountered in reincarnation that he was able to create this system. Ordinary cultivators, I am afraid that they will not even be able to find a way to make the heaven and earth furnace that can infinitely create spiritual energy in their entire lives. The prototype has been completed, and the next step is how to implement it specifically. It's just a step-by-step task, so Li Fan left it to the clone Li Qing to take full responsibility. At the same time, he handed over the great array of heaven and earth myriad spirits which connects and controls all the heaven and earth furnaces to Li Qing to take care of. There may be a risk of mutation in the Dao 1 insect, which must be guarded against. Monitor it at all times, and if there is any abnormality, it needs to be dealt with immediately. After Li Fan finished speaking, he seemed to have thought of something and changed his mind. Well, if there are really mutated Dao 1 insects, there is no need to kill them all. It is better to leave some samples of each mutation, maybe they will be of great use in the future, Li Fan instructed. The clone naturally obeyed. After explaining the affairs, Li Fan was temporarily free. At this time, all plans officially entered the accumulation stage, just waiting for the next accumulation of strength. For a time, Li Fan, who was quite bored, flashed to the outside of the hall where the faceless stone statue was placed. He pointed lightly towards the air, releasing Yan Fangzhou, who had been trapped for a long time. Trapped in a place with nothing, constantly disturbed by the formation, the days passed like years. According to Li Fan's observation, this former pride of heaven should be really crazy at this moment. He was completely unaware that he had been released and gained freedom. Even when Li Fan waved his hand in front of him, he did not react at all. He separated a wisp of divine consciousness and entered Yan Fangzhou's sea of consciousness. The instinctive defense mechanism did not appear for the intrusion of foreign objects. Yan Fangzhou's past memories were completely fragmented, as if they had been cut into pieces by a knife. Only the storms of fear, helplessness, and begging for mercy swept through the sea of consciousness from time to time. Poor child, let me save you, Li Fan smiled slightly. Divine consciousness swept across, crushing all of Yan Fangzhou's remaining thoughts. Then, like painting on a blank canvas, he arbitrarily fabricated Yan Fangzhou's new life. Born in the spirit wood realm, he was sent to the Yan family of the Myriad Immortals Alliance to lurk from an early age. Later, in the process of contacting the spirit wood realm, he was accidentally discovered. In order to prevent his identity from being exposed, he fought and retreated, intending to lure the other party into the spirit wood realm to kill him. Although he succeeded, he was also seriously injured and fainted. Mastering the open double-angle bracket cloud water illusion dream art close double-angle bracket, and having rich experience in this, Li Fan quickly implanted all these mixed memories of truth and falsehood into Yan Fangzhou's mind. After an unknown amount of time, Yan Fangzhou woke up leisurely. His brain was blank for a long time. With a sudden sharp pain, pictures flooded in like a tide. Yan Fangzhou looked at Li Fan's solemn face in front of him, and a burst of shame surged in his heart. Venerable, Li Fan waved his hand. Everyone has times when they miss. It's good to be able to come back alive. Yan Fangzhou's heart couldn't help but warm. The cultivator who discovered your secret has been dealt with. It's been a long time since I returned to the spirit wood realm. Take this opportunity to take a good look around. During the time you were in a coma, something happened to the Myriad Immortals Alliance. You can just think about how to cover up your disappearance, Li Fan said lightly, and then his figure disappeared. Yan Fangzhou bowed and saluted, then swept his divine consciousness across the spirit wood realm. His expression instantly became a little confused. This is very different from when I left. What happened? Yan Fangzhou looked at the brand new spirit wood realm, and his heart was both surprised and delighted. Fangzhou, you're awake. At this time, a somewhat excited voice came from afar. Shang Tianxi. Yan Fangzhou narrowed his eyes. This talented young man was also a member of the Mountain and River Pavilion with him. He was designed and lured back to the Spirit Wood realm, forced to join the Myriad Worlds Association. And Shang Tianxi himself was unaware, thinking that he was a veteran who joined the association earlier than him, Yan Fangzhou. There is one more chapter due around 1 o'clock, and the rest of today's repayment will be tomorrow during the day. I'll write until 1 o'clock at most. Any later than that is really too harmful, and I can't recover at all. 988. Insider of Xuanwang Realm. Thinking of this, Yan Fangzhou snorted coldly in his heart. After all, my identity as an undercover agent is top secret, only the Venerable knows. Yan Fangzhou couldn't help but feel a little smug, a smile appearing on his face as he greeted Shang Tianxi. Shang Tianxi tightly grasped Yan Fangzhou's hands, looking him up and down. At the same time, he kept muttering, "It's good that you're okay, it's good that you're okay." To be honest, Shang Tianxi felt somewhat guilty for luring Yan Fangzhou to the spirit wood world and causing him to suffer confinement. However, due to Li Fan's lewd power, Shang Tianxi didn't dare to have any objections. He just hoped that Yan Fangzhou could see the situation clearly and return from his misguided path as soon as possible. Now it seems that Li Fan's training of Yan Fangzhou has been very successful. Before I came, the Venerable gave instructions. The past is in the past, and try not to mention it again in the future. From today onwards, Fangzhou and I are both brothers of the Myriad Worlds Association, Shang Tianxi thought, smiling at Yan Fangzhou. Everything was understood without words. Under the leadership of Shang Tianxi, Yan Fangzhou toured the entire spirit wood world. The association is truly changing with each passing day. In comparison, the Myriad Immortals Alliance is a bit too decadent. Yan Fangzhou's eyes flashed with a hint of strangeness as he looked at the heaven and earth furnace in the distance, which was constantly releasing spiritual energy. Shang Tianxi also sighed. Yes, in just a few years, the spirit wood world has undergone such earth-shattering changes. Perhaps, joining the Myriad Worlds Association that day was the most correct decision I've ever made. Both of them felt the same way. At the same time, a thought emerged in their hearts. Why not persuade the other brothers of Mountain and River Pavilion to join the right path as well? The Myriad Worlds Association's counterattack against the Xuanwang world is an inevitable trend. We can't let them waste their years in the Myriad Immortals Alliance for nothing. Moreover, the association is currently growing rapidly. Joining now means they will be veteran-level figures in the future. If they wait a few more years, I'm afraid they won't even have a chance to beg to join. The two brothers hit it off and began to ponder together. And Li Fan, who had taken all of their actions into his eyes, just smiled slightly. These geniuses of the Myriad Immortals Alliance in the Mountain and River Pavilion were still somewhat useful to him. Deducing the primordial golden pill and subsequent methods really required geniuses. I don't expect to achieve it in one lifetime, as long as I can push the progress, that is victory. Master. Just as Li Fan was thinking this, Lin Ling's sudden telepathic message sounded in his heart. Her voice was a little apprehensive and hesitant. Come to the secret room to see me. Before long, Lin Ling's figure appeared in front of Li Fan, slowly kneeling down. Your heart seems to be somewhat bewildered and uneasy, Li Fan said calmly, sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. Lin Ling pursed her lips, wanting to speak but stopping. Both her thoughts and expressions were much richer than when she was first born. Li Fan smiled wryly. You are born of heaven and earth, and it is your nature to submit to the strong. In the past, when you were ignorant and didn't know the ways of the world, you didn't think much of acknowledging me as your master. Now that you've walked through the mortal world, all kinds of dissatisfaction and resentment have emerged in your heart. Is that right? Lin Ling's body trembled, and she quickly prostrated herself again, repeatedly saying that she wouldn't dare. In reality, only she herself knew what the situation was. During the time outside the spirit wood world, she learned that the ancient earth vein tree senior she encountered was very dissatisfied with her acknowledging Li Fan as her master. Although he didn't directly instigate Lin Ling to betray, he also transmitted many images from the ancient tree's memory. This allowed Lin Ling's mind to grow rapidly. It did make Lin Ling's mind waver, wanting to leave Li Fan's side and see the wider Xuanwang Great World. However, after returning to the spirit wood world this time and witnessing the many changes in the world with her own eyes, a sense of warning against betraying Li Fan suddenly arose in her heart. It seemed, if she really betrayed him, she would probably face a great disaster. As a creation of heaven and earth, her spiritual sense was the most accurate. The warning lingered for a long time, and these days Lin Ling seemed to be constantly surrounded by the watchful eyes of a natural enemy, feeling restless. Unable to bear it any longer, she prepared to confess everything to Li Fan. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Li Fan chuckle, "You foolish child. Forget it, today I will let you see what true power is." Lin Ling was stunned and suddenly looked up. She only felt an unimaginable aura erupting from her master's body. Although he was only in the nascent soul realm, his pressure made even her, a Tao integration realm cultivator, feel completely suppressed. Realm doesn't mean anything. If I want to kill you, it's as simple as crushing an ant. Li Fan's voice suddenly came from above Lin Ling's head. Lin Ling only felt that the other party's hand was gently pressed on the top of her head. As if her fate was being strangled, Lin Ling's body stiffened and instantly became unable to move. Lin Ling had a feeling that as long as Li Fan exerted a little more force, she would probably die and her Tao would disappear in an instant. Moreover, it wasn't achieved through the Wood Heart's control over her, but through true power crushing. Lin Ling was extremely shocked and couldn't imagine how the Golden Core cultivator from that day had suddenly become so strong. Could it be that Master has been disguising himself all along? The thought that emerged in Lin Ling's mind made her feel even colder. Under the pressure of life and death, there was no longer a trace of rebellious thoughts in her heart. She didn't know how long it had been before Li Fan finally released his right hand and sat cross-legged in the void in front of her again. Lin Ling immediately collapsed to the ground. Then she struggled to get up and kowtowed to Li Fan to apologize. She explained in detail how she had developed rebellious intentions. Earth vein ancient tree. A trace of coldness flashed in Li Fan's eyes, and he had already noted it in his heart. You seem to have something more to say. Lin Ling's body trembled again with Li Fan's words. Yes, Master. However, this is just my guess and may not be true. But it doesn't hurt to say it. Lin Ling hesitated for a while, but finally gritted her teeth and said, I suspect that senior stone slab was dragged away by the unknown in the fishing pond. It is very likely that Luli was secretly informing him. Even Li Fan was a little surprised by these words. Lin Ling explained in a low voice. Originally, I was a little unsure, and only thought that Luli was pulling me closer to the fishing pond in order to get some benefits from Senior Stone Slab. But on the day the mutation occurred, when Senior Stone Slab was suddenly dragged forward, little Luli's face did not show fear or horror. It was as if she had known this scene would happen. Although she quickly reacted afterwards and pretended to show a frightened expression, that momentary change did not escape my observation. That Taoist child Luli must have something strange about her. Lin Ling said firmly. 989. Dark Gold Glazed Lotus Monthly Tickets Debt 437. Listening to Lin Ling's earnest words, Li Fan's consciousness instantly locked onto the Taoist child, Luli, within the spirit wood realm. He saw her standing wide-eyed before a heaven and earth furnace, her eyes full of curiosity. Like that seven-colored jade void glaze, it's a world-level golden light. This little thing is truly not simple. It looks harmless, and even I almost overlooked it. Li Fan could naturally discern whether Lin Ling was lying. With a thought, it was as if a pair of invisible hands appeared in the spirit wood realm. They instantly captured the Taoist child, Luli, and brought her before Li Fan. Luli only felt a blur before her eyes, and the scenery suddenly changed. When she saw Li Fan's face, a trace of panic flashed in her eyes. She wanted to say something, her lips moved, but no sound came out. According to Zhang Shintong, when you were first fished out of the fishing pond, you were just a transparent fruit-like colored glaze. Being able to display golden light, this fruit of yours must be a great tonic. Li Fan had no intention of asking questions, and he began to perform a series of hand seals, setting up a formation around Luli that resembled an alchemy furnace. Feeling the heat emanating from her surroundings, the Taoist child Luli's face turned pale. She waved her pink and white arms, desperately trying to explain something. However, Li Fan completely ignored her, as if he was about to refine Luli on the spot and eat her directly. The immense pressure around her quickly rendered Luli unable to move. She was like a puppet tightly bound by ropes, stiffly floating in the air. Seeing the seemingly helpless Taoist child Luli, Li Fan narrowed his eyes and continued to increase the output of the formation. Within the alchemy furnace formation, 9 scarlet fire dragons manifested. They roared and spewed dazzling flames towards the bound Luli. Behind Li Fan, Lin Ling, watching this scene, felt a chill in her heart, and her body trembled slightly. She didn't expect her master to act so decisively, without even a word of interrogation, and directly roast Luli. With such a decisive and ruthless nature, he wouldn't hesitate to kill her if he truly wanted to. From that moment on, Lin Ling dared not harbor any disloyal thoughts. However, within the formation's furnace, the Taoist child Luli did not dissipate in the flames as Lin Ling had imagined. Instead, bursts of dark golden light erupted from her body, blocking the flames. No matter how Li Fan urged the formation, he could not break through the protection of the dark golden light. Li Fan snorted lightly and continued to draw spiritual energy from the surroundings, continuously generating molten fire to roast Luli. He didn't really want to kill Luli, but rather use this method of slowly boiling a frog to force out Luli's true form. Within the formation's furnace, the two forces continued to clash and stalemate. Releasing the dark golden light to protect herself seemed to place a significant burden on Luli. Her eyes slowly closed, and her body slowly curled up, hugging her knees like a baby, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. However, the surrounding dark golden light became increasingly stable. A six-petaled lotus flower appeared around the Taoist child Luli. With the Luli lotus flower formed, the flames spewed by the 9 fire dragons could no longer harm her in the slightest. They were easily blocked outside the Luli lotus flower, and no matter how rampant the flames were, the Luli lotus flower remained unmoved. Something similar didn't seem to exist within the Xuanwang realm. Even the heavenly medical immortal scripture had no records of it. It should be something produced in another cultivation world. 6 petals should only be its juvenile state. Carefully observing the Luli lotus flower in the flames, Li Fan suddenly had a feeling. Having achieved his goal, Li Fan withdrew his supernatural power. The 9 fire dragons disappeared instantly, but the Taoist child Luli was still bound. Li Fan narrowed his eyes and spoke with a voice like thunder, constantly echoing in the space. Do you think that I can't hurt you with this broken lotus protecting you? That would be underestimating as Xuanwang realm cultivators too much. As he said this, Li Fan released a 7-colored divine light. Wrapped in the divine light was a small piece of gray mold. There were originally 2 pieces of gray mold that were split and cultivated. The larger piece was used to deal with the law transmitter Zhang. Although the remaining one was smaller, the gray mold's natural ability to erode the world had not diminished at all. The moment it appeared, even with the 7-colored divine light wrapped around it, the Luli lotus flower sensed an extreme danger. Luli's body trembled uncontrollably, and the 6-petaled lotus flower protecting her also had dark golden light constantly flowing. In an instant, it seemed that a new petal was about to appear. The 7-colored divine light was about to collide with the Luli lotus flower, and it looked like the gray mold was about to be released. Just then, a clear, cold female voice suddenly rang in Li Fan's mind. Wait. The 7-colored divine light stopped instantly. I didn't expect that this world would also be affected by the Mo word incantation. Mo word incantation. Li Fan's heart stirred, but he remained expressionless. Please, fellow Taoist, come out and meet me. The clear, cold female voice no longer concealed itself. The Luli lotus flower slowly bloomed, and a illusory dark golden figure appeared before Li Fan. Even though the figure was blurry and difficult to see clearly in the golden light, the aura of a monarch emanating from her could still reveal her identity to some extent. Greetings, fellow Taoist from the Xuanwang realm. Fellow Taoist sneaked into my Xuanwang realm with malicious intentions. Li Fan's eyes scanned the golden figure up and down, and for a moment, he couldn't gauge the other party's strength. Having lost her human body, she only existed in the form of energy. Logically speaking, she should be severely injured and forced to do so. However, Li Fan did not sense any weakness from this golden figure, but rather an infinite vitality. Resilient and powerful, the golden light apologized. It's not that I deliberately concealed it, but I was forced to do so. Before Li Fan could ask, she continued to explain. Any cultivation world that is still alive in the sunken star sea is very hostile to outsiders. In my current state, if I reveal my identity directly, I'm afraid I won't live long. Sunken star sea? Li Fan tilted his head slightly, tentatively asking. It's the collective name for all the star fields affected by the Immortal ruins. As if realizing something, the golden light quickly added, every cultivation world has a different name for it. I see. We Xuanwang realm cultivators call it the darkest star sea, Li Fan interjected in a timely manner. Darkest. The golden light was silent for a moment, and sighed slightly. Indeed, the name is very apt. What is your name, fellow Taoist? Where are you from? Why did you appear in the fishing pond? Most importantly, did you cause the disappearance of the fishing pond? Li Fan threw out one question after another, his tone and expression gradually turning cold. 990. Secrets of the true immortals in the world. I caused the disturbance in the fishing pond. Fellow Taoist, you think too highly of me. The golden figure first mocked herself, then began to introduce herself. My original name is Baihua Dao Ren, and I am the sect master of the Tianlian sect of the Wansheng realm. But that was already thousands of years ago. Baihua Dao Ren's tone was somewhat unran. Back then, the open black lens bracket extinction close black lens bracket word art suddenly erupted and swept through the realms. Although the Wansheng realm tried its best to resist, it still couldn't stop its spread. We had no choice but to abandon the realm and flee. We originally wanted to find a safe place to take refuge, but unexpectedly, wherever we passed, it was a scene of doomsday. Bai Hua Dao Ren's golden figure flickered slightly, as if blown by a gentle breeze, revealing the extreme unease in her heart. Even after so long, she still felt waves in her heart whenever she recalled the scene of that year. The calamities encountered by each realm were different. In the star field around our Wansheng realm, the gray mold spots were like a raging sea, engulfing everything in the world. And in some worlds, twisted creations appeared and completely destroyed themselves in constant infighting, like a scarlet hell. If it were just these things, as long as we ran far enough, we might still be able to find a glimmer of hope. But within the immortal ruins, there are open black lens bracket true immortals close black lens bracket, Li Fan said faintly at this time. Bai Hua Dao Ren glanced at Li Fan and nodded slightly. Outside the sunken star region, there is an invisible barrier blocking us from leaving. And within the sunken star region, there is a true immortal who comprehends the Tao through the open black lens bracket hunger close black lens bracket word art, ignoring the life and death of all living beings. Huh, wait a minute, you just said that there is a true immortal who comprehends the Tao through the open black lens bracket hunger close black lens bracket word art. What does that mean? Li Fan's eyes flashed, and he asked. Aren't true immortals suppressed by the hunger word art? Li Fan raised the question in his heart. Bai Hua Dao Ren was stunned for a moment, then suddenly realized, it seems that fellow Taoist from the Xuanwang realm doesn't know much about true immortals and thus has some misunderstandings. According to the research of the surviving cultivators from various cultivation realms back then, the open black lens bracket hunger close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket chaos close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket extinction close black lens bracket and other immortal seal characters that caused the disaster in our star field should all be from the hand of a true immortal. This true immortal has the supreme power to embody the laws of the world into characters. With just a few strokes, he can easily destroy a realm and countless cultivation worlds. So, all the calamities we have suffered are caused by this true immortal. Li Fan's eyes flickered, and he asked in a deep voice. Unexpectedly, Bai Hua Dao Ren shook her head slightly and denied, didn't I just say that if that true immortal really took action, our star field would have been destroyed in an instant? The hunger and chaos word arts that erupted in the calamity, although they also brought boundless world-destroying disasters, are not worthy of being compared with the methods of true immortals. That is, Li Fan was slightly startled, and then instantly thought of something. Imitation, that's right. Back then, the surviving cultivators from the various realms, after comprehensively summarizing the records about true immortals that had been circulated in each realm, all came to the same conclusion. The immortal seal characters that caused the calamities in the lower realm all came from the hand of the same person, or rather, immortal. Bai Hua Dao Ren said slowly, but there was no hatred in her tone, but full of powerlessness. Li Fan couldn't help but feel some doubts when he heard this. Our Xuanwang realm has experienced various calamities. We know very little about true immortals. But for no reason, why would that immortal create such boundless carnage? Immortals will not do meaningless things. Just like the immortal in the immortal ruins, sitting there for tens of thousands of years, comprehending the Tao of the open black lens bracket hunger close black lens bracket word to the extreme. It is for the sake of taking a step further in achieving the realm of open black lens bracket nameless true immortal close black lens bracket, Bai Hua Dao Ren sighed infinitely. Nameless true immortal, I have heard something about this. Unable to know his name, all records have disappeared. Could it be that immortals also have levels? Are not all immortals like this? Li Fan humbly asked for advice. That's right, when the immortal path was not cut off, we cultivators could also ascend to become immortals. Receiving the baptism of immortal spiritual energy and shedding our mortal bodies, we could officially become immortals. Our strength would be turned upside down in an instant, expanding 100 times or more. But compared with the open black lens bracket nameless true immortal close black lens bracket, there is still a world of difference. Every immortal is an extreme seeker of the Tao. When they can completely master a certain path in the world, they are beings that transcend all things. Everything in the past is erased, and no one in the world can know their name. They can only be called by the path they have mastered. That nameless true immortal who carves the Tao with characters, we respectfully call him the open black lens bracket inscribed Tao immortal close black lens bracket. Listening to Bai Hua Dao Ren's description of the realm above immortals, Li Fan couldn't help but yearn for it. The information about immortals in the Xuanwang realm has long disappeared in the long river of history, and even the transmitters know very little about it. Perhaps only the Five Elders Association, the remnants of the immortal Tao 10 sects, still have some remaining information. Today, being able to encounter the survivors of the ancient immortal calamity by chance and learn the secrets of true immortals is definitely a great opportunity. Of course, Li Fan did not fully trust this Baihua Dao Ren. He just listened to it for the time being. Baihua Dao Ren continued. The inscribed Dao immortal has already transcended, but he may have left behind a few authentic inscribed Dao works. Back then, I don't know what kind of changes happened in the immortal realm. The immortal path collapsed, and the immortals fled in all directions. These authentic works may have been obtained by one of the immortals. He copied and wrote the hunger, chaos, and extinction characters, causing chaos in the world. This must be related to the path he cultivates. Chaos and extinction destroyed countless cultivation realms, while the hunger character was obtained by another immortal. And perhaps the hunger character conformed to this immortal's path, so he sat cross-legged at the passage of the former immortal realm and began to comprehend it. You must know that tens of thousands of years may be extremely long for us, but for immortals it is just the time for a retreat. As for what consequences will be caused during his comprehension of the hunger character, we cultivators of the lower realm are all ants in his eyes. How could he care? Baihua Dao Ren only had a few resentments in her words when she said this. After Li Fan absorbed all of the other party's words, he slowly thought. These are all your guesses, right? Is there any substantial evidence? Baihua Dao Ren shook her head, but was still very sure. Back then, the survivors of our group were all the most powerful people in each realm. We deduced it with the help of the remaining information from each realm. Even if it is not the absolute truth, it is not far from it. Especially those who copied the true immortal seal characters and comprehended the hunger character are only in the immortal realm. Although their strength absolutely crushes us cultivators, they have not reached the unpredictable level of the nameless true immortal. Baihua Dao Ren's tone had its own arrogance. Li Fan thought of the time in his 115th life, when the one in the immortal ruins suddenly opened his eyes after sensing his gaze. And through the sense of the clone, the hunger character was transmitted to the Xuanwang realm, thus destroying the world. 991. Walking alone on the path of immortality. I did see that immortal open his eyes back then, so it seems he is indeed still alive. To extinguish Xuanwang with a single glance of the character, hunger, I'm afraid that's beyond the capabilities of an ordinary immortal. He's been sitting in meditation for tens of thousands of years, gaining insights into the Tao. He's probably not far from breaking through to the realm of the nameless true immortal. Li Fan suddenly felt an invisible pressure. If everything this 100 Flowers Taoist says is true, then one day this immortal will awaken from his enlightenment. If, by then, he hasn't been able to escape from this dark star sea, then he must restore the truth. In other words, his time in the Xuanwang realm actually has an upper limit. However, it seems there's no need to worry too much about this issue at the moment. At least, in the several reincarnations he's experienced, the immortal in the immortal ruins hasn't shown any signs of awakening, even after anchoring for more than 700 years. But in that life, the obelisks built by the Heavenly Alliance erupted more and more frequently. Perhaps they sensed the danger of the immortal awakening and had no choice but to do so, Li Fan mused to himself. Rather than the awakening of a true immortal, I should be more worried about whether forcibly breaking through the attraction of the immortal ruins, leaving Xuanwang, or even crossing the high wall, will awaken this immortal in enlightenment. Thinking of this, Li Fan couldn't help but ask, let's put aside the source of the cultivation world's calamity for now. What does fellow Taoist think of the invisible barrier surrounding the dark star sea? 100 Flowers Taoist was silent for a moment before giving an answer that surprised Li Fan somewhat. This invisible barrier has two possibilities. First, it was established by existences outside the dark star sea to prevent the spread of the calamity brought about by the true immortal inscription. Li Fan nodded slightly, which was consistent with Zhan Tian Wang's speculation back then. As for the second possibility, 100 Flowers Taoist's tone suddenly became low, it is very likely arranged by that immortal ruins immortal. As I said before, each immortal pursues a unique path to the true immortal. That immortal who wants to comprehend the Tao with the character, hunger, in order to prevent other immortals from discovering the existence of the hunger character, thus affecting his own enlightenment process. So before enlightenment, he laid down methods to seal off and isolate this star field. The high wall was set up by the Immortal ruins Immortal. Li Fan was startled at first, and then, after thinking for a moment, felt that this was indeed possible. He inexplicably thought of Zhan Tian Wang's conclusion back then. Only by breaking through to the realm of true Immortal can one take the Xuanwang realm across the high wall. The true Immortal that Zhan Tian Wang spoke of, according to his claim that he would soon reach that realm, should be the ordinary Immortal realm. Not the realm of the nameless true Immortal. Only by approaching or surpassing the strength of the Immortal ruins Immortal when he set up the high wall can one cross it. This is also very reasonable. Back then, when the Immortal realm collapsed, the survivors fled in all directions. The Immortal ruins Immortal directly obtained the Hunger Word Art at the entrance of the Immortal realm passage and sat down to comprehend the Tao. This courage. I think it is rare even in the Immortal realm. Then it may not be impossible for him to casually set up a high wall to seal off the entire Dark Star Sea. While Li Fan was thinking, he felt that perhaps the second guess was closer to the truth. If that's the case, I'm afraid that if I want to escape from the Dark Star Sea, I will inevitably disturb that Immortal ruins Immortal. This is undoubtedly more dangerous and unattainable than fighting against the propagation. But wanting to be free from longevity, who would have thought that just starting out, he would have discovered that the propagation Heavenly Lord and the Immortal ruins Immortal, two great enemies that must be faced, stood in the way ahead. How desperate is this? I am afraid that most of the cultivators in the Dark Star Sea will collapse their Tao hearts and find it difficult to improve when they know the truth. But Li Fan just narrowed his eyes, but he did not feel the slightest frustration because of this. Whether it is propagation or Immortal, even the ethereal, nameless true Immortal. As long as they block his path to longevity, Li Fan will definitely crush them. I walk alone on the road of longevity, and the world obstructs my will. A sword splits the star sea, and the heavens mourn and the immortals are shocked. Li Fan slowly chanted in his heart, his eyes firm. The 100 Flowers Taoist not far away didn't know what happened, but felt that the aura on this person suddenly changed inexplicably. It made her feel faintly panicked, as if a disaster was imminent. But this feeling only flashed by, and when she looked closely again, it disappeared without a trace. It was as if it was just her illusion. But the 100 Flowers Taoist understood that with her current state of glass body, illusions and hallucinations were impossible to appear on her. So, the 100 Flowers Taoist stared at Li Fan, who seemed harmless and full of righteousness, and added a bit of vigilance to her heart. The Immortal ruins Immortal is still too far away from the current situation. After thinking for a moment, Li Fan temporarily suppressed all his thoughts. He looked at the 100 Flowers Taoist whose figure was hidden in the golden light, and asked again, the realm of immortals is not something we can speculate on at present. Compared to that, I am more curious about fellow Taoists' experience. Aren't you a survivor of the disaster back then, so why did you appear in the fishing pond? What is the relationship between the Taoist child, Luli, and you? Li Fan's eyes were bright, and the surrounding array seal was quietly strengthened again. The 100 Flowers Taoist glanced around almost imperceptibly and sighed, fellow Taoists' vigilance is really extraordinary. Actually, the reason why I am in the fishing pond is just a coincidence. As I said before, I can't help myself. The 100 Flowers Taoist slowly explained. That day, we survivors from all realms were gathering together to discuss ways to escape from the sunken star sea. Unexpectedly, a wave came inexplicably from the void and locked onto me. I lost consciousness in an instant, and when I woke up, I was already in the fishing pond. Li Fan smiled and said, so, you were caught in the fishing pond because you were too unlucky. The 100 Flowers Taoist's voice was a little helpless, yes, and no. The fishing pond automatically searches for treasures scattered in the starry sky. The rarer the ownerless objects, the more likely they are to be targeted by the fishing pond. My skills are great, and my body is like a dark light glass lotus. It's more like a magic weapon than a person. I can only say that it was destined to happen. In the fishing pond, I don't know how many years I have sunk. Then, by chance, I was attached to a glass wisdom fruit with similar properties to me. Absorbing part of the energy of the wisdom fruit, I was barely able to maintain my sanity in the fishing pond. Later, I sensed a force pulling the glass wisdom fruit, and I knew that this might be the only chance to escape. So I was fished out of the fishing pond with Luli. Hee, but I hid it well, and you haven't noticed it all the time. The 100 Flowers Taoist said lightly. 992. Those seeking the way must be punished. The Xuanwang realm, it truly is fraught with danger. Back then, we survivors from various realms had conflicts with the Xuanwang realm. Now that I'm alone, revisiting this old place, I naturally need to be more cautious, Taoist Baihua explained. Oh, conflicts happened back then, how so? When disaster strikes, shouldn't we cultivators work together to overcome the difficulties? Li Fan pondered briefly, already guessing the possible reasons for the conflict. Such a group of homeless people, encountering the rich immortal cultivation world of Xuanwang realm, would inevitably harbor various desires. Back then, when King Xuantian was still around, he would definitely have kept these treacherous people out. However, Li Fan asked despite already knowing the answer. Taoist Baihua's answer was basically consistent with Li Fan's speculation, that half-immortal was truly overbearing. He directly rejected our proposal to unite and jointly face the disaster. And he even wanted to drive us away on the spot. Naturally, some of us were unhappy. So, we had some exchanges with each other. Taoist Baihua's figure shimmered with golden light, obviously indicating that the exchanges she spoke of were not just friendly sparring. As expected of a half-immortal who had been baptized by immortal spiritual energy, even if the advancement was incomplete, the strength was enough to crush ordinary cultivators. Knowing we were no match, we had to retreat. And that half-immortal truly had some immortal demeanor, not bearing grudges, and even gifted us a lot of resources before we left, Taoist Baihua sighed. It seems that King Xuantian, although concerned about the common people of Xuanwang, is not the kind of foolishly benevolent person. He is very wary of outsiders, especially outsiders in the context of rampant disasters. However, he is still a bit too kind. If it were me, I would definitely slaughter all these people and plunder their resources. In the apocalypse, every additional resource means one more hope of survival. Letting the tiger return to the mountain may lead to future troubles. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Li Fan's mind. He hid his faint killing intent very well, but it still didn't escape Taoist Baihua's perception of her glass-like body. Taoist Baihua paused slightly, wondering where the other party's killing intent came from for no reason. Could it be that this person in front of me has some connection with the half-immortal back then? Taoist Baihua was immediately shocked. After thinking about it, Taoist Baihua took the initiative to change the subject, shifting from the old events of the past to the disappearance of the fishing pond. After I came to the Xuanwang realm, I remained attached to little Luli. One reason is that I noticed that the Xuanwang realm seems to be much more dangerous than it was back then, and the second is that the Luli wisdom fruit is of great benefit to my cultivation. Originally, the days were relatively peaceful, until the arrival of you, Taoist friend, and that slate cultivator. If it was just fishing for treasures from the fishing pond, that would be fine, but he insisted on trying to comprehend the Tao of fishing. Speaking of this, Taoist Baihua glanced at Li Fan. The reason why the slate made this decision was inextricably linked to Li Fan's instigation. This treasure, the fishing pond, is obviously from the hand of a nameless true immortal who has established his own Tao path. How can his own Tao path allow others to interfere? The slate wants to comprehend the Tao of fishing, and he will inevitably be counterattacked. As for where the slate and this fishing pond have gone, I am afraid it is beyond your and my ability to explore. Taoist Baihua shook her head and sighed slightly. Li Fan remained silent. Taoist Baihua's statement had no flaws. Asking himself, if someone wanted to comprehend the method of transforming the virtual into reality and reversing time and space through stillness transformation, then Li Fan would also have to fight them to the death. But soon, Li Fan thought of something again and frowned slightly. Since the true immortal's Tao path does not allow others to interfere, then why would the inscribed Tao immortal leave behind several true immortal inscriptions? The immortals in the immortal ruins have been comprehending the Tao for thousands of years, so why hasn't it attracted the attention of the inscribed Tao immortal? Taoist Baihua pondered for a moment, seemingly organizing her words. Taoist friend, I am afraid you have misunderstood. The Tao comprehended by the immortals in the immortal ruins has nothing to do with the inscribed Tao immortal's Tao path. The inscribed Tao immortal's Tao path can inscribe Tao's words. And the immortals in the immortal ruins use the hunger character to comprehend the Tao. What he is pursuing may be hunger itself, or it may be related to hunger. But it will never be inscribing Tao. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying, Taoist friend. Taoist Baihua looked at Li Fan. Li Fan pondered for a moment and nodded slightly. It wasn't that he was too stupid to understand such a simple point, but rather that a sudden thought popped up in his mind and he wanted to confirm it with Taoist Baihua again. I once saw that the immortals in the immortal ruins were bound by chains, and I originally thought it was suppression imposed by outsiders. Now that I think about it, it is more likely that the immortals bound themselves. The purpose, well, may be to prevent themselves from losing control due to comprehending the hunger character. No, immortals disregard the lives of mortals, so it is unlikely to be simply to avoid harming the innocent. It is more likely that they are still worried that losing control will affect their own Tao path. So that's how it is, the Tao path he cultivates may be related to resisting the instinct of hunger. Judging others by himself, Li Fan still had a way of doing things, and deduced a lot in an instant. Seeing Li Fan fall into thought, Taoist Baihua also remained silent. After a long time, Li Fan spoke again. Although Taoist friend has explained a lot, there is no concrete evidence after all. My race must be guarded against. For the sake of the Xuanwang common people, I am afraid I still have to wrong Taoist friend. Li Fan's reaction seemed to be within Taoist Baihua's expectations. She was not agitated at all, but said in a deep voice, "What if I am also a Xuanwang realm cultivator now?" Li Fan was stunned. "What do you mean, Taoist friend?" "I borrowed the Luli body to reshape the Luli body. And Luli was transformed within the Xuanwang realm, with the help of the power of heaven and earth. In a sense, I am now also raised by the Xuanwang realm's heaven and earth." Taoist Baihua smiled slightly. "If you don't believe me, Taoist friend, you can return to the Xuanwang realm with me and feel the will of heaven and earth. With my strength, if I were an outsider, heaven and earth would definitely generate instinctive disgust. Cultivators in the mortal realm can see it at a glance, and it cannot be concealed at all." In order to verify what the other party said, Li Fan brought Taoist Baihua to the Xuanwang realm. Instantly transformed into a heaven and earth perspective. Sure enough, Li Fan saw that heaven and earth did not generate any malice towards Taoist Baihua at all. There was even a hint of intimacy and solicitation in it. Li Fan couldn't help but feel strange. "What is your current cultivation level, Taoist friend?" he asked. If it were in the myriad manifestations realm, after my cultivation technique is completed and my body is transformed into Luli, the next step would be to accept the baptism of heavenly tribulation and ascend to immortality. Although the immortal path is cut off, I cannot ascend to immortality and my realm is stagnant. But my strength is still constantly increasing over the years, especially after absorbing the Luli wisdom fruit. If I use the Xuanwang realm's realm to divide it, it should be considered the longevity realm. 993. Eternal life is different. Baihua Daoran's tone was somewhat uncertain. Li Fan frowned deeply upon hearing this. "You, a being of the eternal realm?" His tone was full of suspicion. Although he couldn't quite gauge the other party's strength, there was definitely a significant difference compared to the eternal realm experts in the Xuanwang world. At the very least, Li Fan didn't feel a great threat from her. "Fellow Taoist, don't think that by throwing out the title of eternal realm, you can intimidate me," Li Fan said, his expression somewhat unfriendly. Baihua Daoran gave a wry smile. "I've already fallen to this state, why would I do something so meaningless? In fact, if I were still in the myriad prosperity world, or even other cultivation worlds, I could indeed be called a being of the eternal realm. However, in the Xuanwang world," Baihua Daoran looked up at the sky, a hint of awe flashing in her eyes. "Thousands of years have passed, and the world has changed. This land has actually become so vast. To be honest, my homeland, the myriad prosperity world, is only about the size of 5 provinces in the current Xuanwang world. And our myriad prosperity world was ranked in the middle among the many cultivation worlds back then. Naturally, there are differences even among those of the eternal realm," Baihua Daoran said with some helplessness. Li Fan immediately understood. Back then, the Xuanwang world was a behemoth-like existence compared to many other cultivation worlds. After thousands of years of continuous plunder and devouring, the current Xuanwang world has expanded countless times. As possibly the only remaining cultivation world in the Dark Star Sea, the Xuanwang world cannot be judged by common sense. And in such a vast world, the strength of the eternal reverence, who defy logic and coexist with the heavens and earth, is naturally terrifying. They cannot be judged by common sense. To be born in Xuanwang is both fortunate and unfortunate, Li Fan felt. Looking at Baihua Daoran again, he estimated that her strength was equivalent to a slightly stronger integration realm cultivator in the Xuanwang world. "No wonder I thought you were a bit weak," Li Fan said bluntly. "I've fought against eternal reverence before. I estimate that you wouldn't last a few rounds in their hands." It was impossible to see Baihua Daoran's expression, but judging from her gently fluctuating golden light body, she was clearly not in a good mood. Alright, now that what you've said has been verified, let's return to the spirit wood world first. The Xuanwang world is constantly under the surveillance of the celestial reverence. Although your strength is a bit weak, your realm is still eternal. If you stay here for too long, there might be a risk of exposure, Li Fan said, leading Baihua Daorin back to the spirit wood world. And Baihua Daorin did not act rashly. Not only were the strengths of the two sides evenly matched, and fighting might attract the attention of stronger people, but more importantly, little Lu Li was still in Li Fan's hands. She was now alone, and her future cultivation still needed the support of the wisdom fruit of lapis lazuli. Baihua Daorin, do you have any way to contact the survivors from those worlds back then? In the spirit wood world, Li Fan changed his face and said amiably. I know what you're worried about. But there's no need to worry. After so many years, those people are probably already buried in the immortal ruins, Baihua Daorin said coldly. Oh, are you so sure? Li Fan asked with interest. The Xuanwang world is already on the verge of falling into the immortal ruins at this size. How long can those people last relying on a small piece of land pieced together temporarily? Baihua Daorin said with certainty. So, apart from the Xuanwang world, I have nowhere else to go now. We're in the same boat, so you don't need to be so wary of me, Baihua Daorin earnestly advised. She sighed in her heart that the hearts of people in the cultivation world were not what they used to be. In their time, although there were inevitably intrigues and deceptions, it was never like this, where one had to be so careful and wary, as if they were mortal enemies at all times. Hee, people's hearts are treacherous, and one must be careful, Li Fan said, acting as if he was used to it. Words are not enough to convince me. Whether it's letting you go or cooperating with you, I'm not at ease. Baihua Daorin was still under the impression that Li Fan was going to kill her when she heard this, and her golden light body suddenly became a little agitated. Unexpectedly, Li Fan changed the topic. Fellow Taoist, come with me. As long as you worship the stone statue, you and I will be on the same path. From now on, we will be of one heart and one mind, and there will be no need to be suspicious of each other. Baihua Daorin was stunned. Stone statue. Her confusion turned into horror the moment she saw the faceless stone statue. The golden light flickered continuously, trembling like a fledgling beast that had seen its nemesis. She backed away, exclaiming, a true immortal statue. How can there be such a thing here? Have you been lying to me all along? Baihua Daorin stared at Li Fan with a mixture of fear and resentment. And Li Fan also keenly noticed that faint suction forces seemed to be emanating from the faceless true immortal stone statue. It wanted to absorb Baihua Daorin's lapis lazuli golden light divine body. Why are you so alarmed, fellow Taoist? This is the true immortal of mortal compassion, who is completely different from the other immortals you know. As long as you swear with me, I guarantee you will be safe and sound. Li Fan said in a deep voice. At the same time, his mind was connected to the stone statue. In an instant, countless scenes of prayers from believers of the compassionate immortal in the Xuanwang world appeared in Li Fan's mind. And he himself seemed to be blessed by some kind of power. Baihua Daorin let out a scream, hastily retreated again, and stared at Li Fan with horror. Li Fan's heart moved, and he felt a faint strand of golden floss being stripped from Baihua Daorin's body. It floated in the air, attracted by the faceless true immortal stone statue, and slowly drifted to Li Fan's side. Golden force of will. After absorbing it, Li Fan realized that the nature of this energy seemed extremely similar to the golden force of will. But it seemed purer. Li Fan's gaze fell on Baihua Daorin again. Under Li Fan's coercion, Baihua Daorin had no choice but to recite the oath once. As soon as she finished speaking, the consciousness connection in Li Fan's mind instantly sensed the existence of Baihua Daorin. But it was no longer a golden light human figure, but a lotus-shaped lampstand. Is this your current body? Li Fan asked, frowning. Yes, Baihua Daorin's tone was no longer like before, but became very restrained. You are at least in the eternal realm, why are you so weak? This time, Li Fan was really puzzled. As soon as he said this, Li Fan felt a strong sense of grievance from the other party. Baihua Daorin glanced at the faceless stone statue standing quietly, hesitating to speak. Speak without hesitation, Li Fan assured. Even if the compassionate immortal of mortal world is not in the realm of nameless true immortal, it is not far away. I am just a fallen eternal being, how can I resist? Baihua Daorin said weakly. Even so, it's just a stone statue. Is it necessary to be so afraid? Bai Daoran thought that Li Fan was testing her, and quickly expressed her loyalty. You are joking, envoy. As far as the power of a true immortal can reach, what difference is there between a stone statue and the deity himself? 994. Right choice. What difference is there between the stone statue and the true body? Hearing these words from the 100 Flowers Taoist, Li Fan's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. The faceless true immortal stone statue, which had been standing quietly all along, seemed to move for a moment. It looked at Li Fan with a slightly mocking, dim gaze. However, when Li Fan looked again, all the strange phenomena disappeared in an instant. It became like an ordinary stone sculpture again. The information revealed in the 100 Flowers Taoist's words was too frightening. So much so that Li Fan, who was startled, was about to revert to reality on the spot. But the current Grand Preceptor Li is no longer the little Foundation establishment cultivator who was contacted by the Heavenly Doctor along the branch and forced to revert to reality in a sorry state. If he were frightened by someone else's words, whether true or false, and directly reverted to reality, that would be a real joke. Li Fan narrowed his eyes slightly, and the scenes of his experiences in this life flashed quickly in his mind. Then he felt a little relieved. The faceless true immortal stone statue is related to the faceless true immortal who saved the Zon Heaven King once, and the stone statue also has a part of the true immortal's power. This was something that Li Fan had already determined when the believer's prayer scenes appeared in his mind. Using the stone statue to contact believers, and even directly bestow cultivation out of thin air, and then absorb golden power of faith. All of this, if it were just the effect of a simple stone statue, without the maintenance of the faceless true immortal's power, it would be a bit unreasonable. However, Li Fan was lucky at the time. He didn't have the guts to face the true immortal directly, but he had the guts to fleece the true immortal's remaining power. I still underestimated the strength of the true immortal. Wherever the power reaches, the true body is present. Li Fan still fell into a thinking misunderstanding, using the perspective of an ordinary cultivator to speculate on the power of a true immortal. In Li Fan's original view, this true immortal stone statue was equivalent to a magic formation that could strengthen the induction of the formless killing intent. The true immortal could sense many things happening around the stone statue through him at any time. Now the conclusion has been overturned. This stone statue is equivalent to the true immortal's personal presence. Thinking of this, even Li Fan, who had a firm will and was far superior to ordinary people, couldn't help but feel an invisible, heavy pressure. After all, deceiving superiors and concealing information is completely different from courting death under their noses. But after thinking for a while, Li Fan still withstood this pressure and did not revert to reality rashly. There are 3 reasons. First, even if the stone statue is like the true immortal's personal presence, Li Fan has never exposed his secret of open black lens bracket returning to reality close black lens bracket from the beginning of digging out the stone statue until now. In the eyes of the true immortal, he is just a slightly stronger nascent soul cultivator, taking advantage of the name of the red dust compassionate immortal to seek benefits. Even the longevity realm may not enter the true immortal's eyes. Let alone him, Li Fan. Would mortals be curious as to why a flying ant in an ant nest grows stronger than others? If the faceless true immortal can really perceive everything that happens here, and Li Fan is still living well now, that is the best proof that he has not yet attracted the true immortal's attention. Second, the faceless stone statue is not the first time it has appeared in the Xuanwang realm. During the Zon Heaven sect's rule, stone statues were almost all over the Xuanwang realm. Then the 10 great immortal sects rebelled and the Zon Heaven sect was destroyed. Countless stone statues were damaged, leaving only the last one collected by Mr. Bai. During this process, the faceless true immortal remained indifferent, without showing any of his power to show punishment. This shows that he doesn't care about the affairs of the Xuanwang realm at all. Or rather, as long as you don't show the power of an immortal, you may not be worthy of being seen by the true immortal at all. So don't look at Li Fan making a lot of noise here, but in fact, it's nothing to the true immortal at all. The last point is also the main basis for Li Fan's final decision to not revert to reality for the time being and continue to wait and see. That is the existence of the immortal ruins immortal in the open black lens bracket high wall close black lens bracket. The immortal ruins immortal sits in the immortal ruins and comprehends the Tao for nearly 10,000 years. In the 115th life, Li Fan drove the Medicine King Cauldron into the immortal ruins, which could break his enlightenment process and make him open his eyes. If there is a being of equal power to him in the Xuanwang realm not far from the immortal ruins. How could the immortal ruins immortal be able to comprehend the Tao so peacefully for so long? Li Fan doesn't believe that the principle of not allowing others to sleep soundly on the side of the bed does not apply to the level of immortals. Furthermore, there is the high wall. Whether the high wall was built by the immortal ruins immortal or built outside the wall, the filtering and blocking function of the high wall at the immortal level has been determined. Being inside and outside the high wall, perception will definitely be affected to a certain extent. It will definitely not be as if the true body is present. If the faceless true immortal notices something abnormal and crosses the high wall, I'm afraid it will immediately arouse the vigilance of the immortal ruins immortal. When two tigers meet, there must be a fight. I also have plenty of time to revert to reality. In an instant, Li Fan made a decision after weighing the pros and cons. It looks very dangerous, but because the strength gap between the two sides is too large, it is not as dangerous as imagined. As long as open black lens bracket returning to reality close black lens bracket is not exposed. But then again, if I didn't have open black lens bracket returning to reality close black lens bracket myself, I wouldn't have thought that there really is such a treasure in the world that can turn reality into illusion and reverse everything. Slowly gathering his thoughts, Li Fan looked at the panicked 100 Flowers Taoist in front of him and smiled slightly. Fellow Taoist 100 Flowers only knows one thing, but not the other. How could true immortals be interested in paying attention to the mundane affairs of the world under normal circumstances? I will take care of the many affairs of this Xuanwang realm for the true immortal. Li Fan said lightly, and seemingly to confirm, the tribulation body filled with golden power of faith slowly flew out of his body. Then he gently pointed it towards the 100 Flowers Taoist's forehead. The moment the golden tribulation body appeared, the 100 Flowers Taoist's figure shook violently like a lake surface blown by a hurricane. Li Fan perceived many emotions from her, such as fear, greed, and fear. Sure enough, thinking this in his heart, Li Fan slowly controlled it and injected a trace of golden power of faith stored in the tribulation body into the 100 Flowers Taoist's body. With the golden power of faith entering her body, the 100 Flowers Taoist couldn't help but let out a groan. On her originally unclear face, a face that could topple cities and countries suddenly appeared, as if the clouds had cleared and the sun had appeared. It's just that the original noble aura has disappeared, her eyes are blurred, and she stares blankly at the finger with the golden tribulation body pressed against her brow. The feelings of begging and longing gurgled out. This scene is beyond words. Even Li Fan's mind was stirred by a trace of ripples. He seemed to see a national beauty peony, surpassing hundreds of flowers in the world, slowly blooming in front of him, releasing its beauty to the fullest. Humph! Faced with the 100 Flowers Taoist's plea, Li Fan solidified his mind after a moment and put away the golden tribulation body. Li Fan glanced at her coldly, warning her with countless empty and resentful eyes of the 100 Flowers Taoist. Then he said slowly, "It seems that the true immortal's gift is very helpful to you." 995. Desire of the Great Tao of Heaven and Earth. Baihua Taoist didn't seem to have fully recovered from the sensation of absorbing the golden power of wishes. Her expression was dazed, and her golden figure swayed rhythmically. It wasn't until the rhythm gradually subsided that her mind slowly returned to clarity. Open black lens bracket essence of myriad spirits close black lens bracket, true immortals might not care about it. But for me right now, it is indeed a rare and greatly nourishing treasure. Baihua Taoist sighed softly, answering truthfully. Essence of myriad spirits, Li Fan deliberately pretended to ponder. The emissary seems to not know much about this item. Baihua Taoist, having lived for countless years, immediately asked proactively, observing Li Fan's expression. Li Fan then nodded slightly. It was just an occasional gift from a true immortal. The true immortal doesn't give too much guidance, everything relies on my own comprehension. Therefore, I wasn't deliberately deceiving you earlier. I only know that there are immortals in the world, but I indeed don't know much about the specifics of individual immortals. After Li Fan said this, he sensed a faint hint of jealousy from Baihua Taoist. However, Baihua Taoist quickly restrained herself and said slowly, "Since that's the case, I'll explain it to the emissary. The so-called essence of myriad spirits is the desire for open black lens bracket Tao close black lens bracket from all things in the world with intelligence. Tao, not the path of cultivation, but refers to everything in the world. Born with desires, pursuing the Tao, until death. This is the destiny of us mortals." Li Fan carefully comprehended what Baihua Taoist said, vaguely understanding something. From pursuing the Tao, comes the essence. This is the instinct of living beings, and also a major law of the natural operation of the world. For true immortals, what is valuable is perhaps the purest trace of open black lens bracket Tao close black lens bracket in the wishes of living beings pursuing the Tao. But for us mortal cultivators, this open black lens bracket essence of myriad spirits close black lens bracket has all sorts of powers to turn decay into magic. Listening to Baihua Taoist's explanation, Li Fan immediately understood. Living beings pursuing their desires is the unchanging Tao of the world's operation. If all living beings in the world were without desire, then the world would fall into disorder, unable to operate normally, and fall into a state of deathly silence. What true immortals pursue is this trace of the great Tao that drives the birth of mortal wishes. The open black lens bracket essence of myriad spirits close black lens bracket that Li Fan named golden power of wishes is actually the raw material for extracting the traces of the great Tao. After the traces of the great Tao are extracted, the golden power of wishes is useless to that faceless true immortal. Therefore, it is discarded. Just as Li Fan was thinking this, he heard Baihua Taoist slowly say, "The glazed body I cultivate is formed by borrowing the world's people's vision of the world's flowers. It can be said to be of the same origin as the essence of myriad spirits. Even, it is much purer. Not only for me, but as long as it involves the desires of all living beings, the essence of myriad spirits has infinite wonderful uses. Refining pills, refining weapons, making talismans, adding some will greatly increase the success rate. Taking it when breaking through greatly reduces the possibility of failure. Absorbing a little during cultivation can also increase the speed of cultivation several times. It is even said that it can create things out of thin air, directly transforming into the required objects. Anything driven by open black lens bracket desire close black lens bracket, the essence of myriad spirits can promote it." Baihua Taoist's tone was full of envy. "Are there any side effects?" Li Fan was not overwhelmed by Baihua Taoist's boasting. Baihua Taoist paused slightly, and then said somewhat uncertainly, "I have heard that the essence of myriad spirits involves the desires of all living beings. The more you use it, the deeper the entanglement. Perhaps it will be more difficult to ascend to become an immortal in the future." Baihua Taoist paused. "But now the path to immortality has long been cut off, so this side effect is equivalent to not existing." Li Fan nodded slowly. "That's right. If the essence of myriad spirits was really that wonderful, even if he couldn't use it, it would be fine to keep it. How could it be given to Li Fan for nothing? Only substances that are harmful to true immortals, and are deliberately discarded by them, make sense." Li Fan turned to look at Baihua Taoist. "The essence of myriad spirits is useless to true immortals. The right to use it is entirely mine. Fellow Taoist Baihua, don't worry, if you work steadily for the compassionate immortal, you will definitely not be lacking in the future." A hint of joy couldn't help but appear on Baihua Taoist's face. "All right, since you have already joined the Red Dust Compassionate True Immortals sect, then from today onwards, you will be considered a member of our Myriad Worlds United Association. I will first take fellow Taoist on a tour. Next, Baihua Taoist followed behind Li Fan, touring the Spirit Wood world. Without being discovered by anyone else in the world. Baihua Taoist exclaimed, "Although it is a small world, it is not much worse than my hometown, Wansheng." Her gaze was fixed on the heaven and earth furnaces in various places in the Spirit Wood world. Li Fan smiled. "To be honest, more than 10 years ago, this place was just a small world. It is precisely because of the various blessings bestowed by the true immortal that the Spirit Wood world is renewed day by day." Baihua Taoist nodded. With her eyesight, she could naturally see that Li Fan's words were true. This world is full of vitality and vigor. It is a sign of new life. Returning to the secret room, Li Fan then said seriously, 10,000 years ago, the compassionate true immortal's Tao lineage was destroyed by the rulers of the Xuanwang world. I was fortunate enough to discover the true immortal stone statue, and receive the true immortal's grace, vowing to restore the true immortal's Tao lineage. Because the other party's power is great, I want to first accumulate strength, and then unite the myriad worlds to set things right." Li Fan briefly introduced the ins and outs of the matter to Baihua Taoist. Baihua Taoist nodded. "I also know something about the current situation in the Xuanwang world. That Dharma transmission Heavenly Venerate is indeed terrifying and awe-inspiring, but if the emissary can get the help of the true immortal, then he is not to be feared at all." Having personally experienced the essence of myriad spirits, Baihua Taoist had great confidence in the Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal. Li Fan shook his head slightly. The true immortal's gifts are erratic. Sometimes they descend one after another for no reason, and sometimes they are not seen for years. If I want to restore the true immortal's Tao lineage, the road is long and arduous. However, fellow Taoist Baihua, I have a doubt that I have never understood. You say that true immortals have already transcended, and should not ask about these mortal affairs. Why are their rewards bestowed? Li Fan stared at Baihua Taoist, trying to get an answer from her mouth. Baihua Taoist was slightly nervous, thought for a moment, and gave her own guess. Perhaps it is not a gift, but the remaining power after the true immortal extracts the traces of the Tao. After all, too much time has passed, and I don't know what the immortals who still exist in the world today have become. Not a gift, just the remaining power. It's really discouraging, Li Fan murmured, but there was no disappointment in his heart. The emissary doesn't have to be discouraged. I see that you can borrow the true immortal's image. Compared to us ants, the emissary's status in the true immortal's mind is somewhat different after all. Baihua Taoist comforted. 996. Eternal life is like a beast and a horse. Oh, Li Fan raised his head to look at the 100 Flowers Taoist. This guy always manages to startle people inadvertently. How is it different? The 100 Flowers Taoist slowly explained. Perhaps, envoy, you are the first to come into contact with the true immortal stone statue again, or perhaps you are the first to make the statue open black lens bracket revive close black lens bracket again. In short, I believe you have also noticed, compared to others, you have different powers. This may be a sign that the true immortal looks at you with different eyes. The 100 Flowers Taoist tried every means to find a reason to explain. Li Fan just smiled in response. Alright, the will of the true immortal is not something we can fathom. I am a person who values gratitude and seeks to repay kindness. Since the true immortal has created me, no matter what the final result, I will take it as my responsibility to restore the true immortal's Tao lineage. Li Fan said with a righteous and awe-inspiring expression, ending the discussion between the two about the true immortal. I don't know what fellow Taoist is good at. Since you have joined my Myriad Realms United Association, we can't bury your talents. Don't worry, our United Association is still in the stage of lurking and development. I also know that your actual combat power is not strong, so I won't let you go into battle and fight. Li Fan asked very considerately. Seeing Li Fan's smiling expression, a sense of unease suddenly surged in the 100 Flowers Taoist's heart for some reason. However, he still braced himself and replied, now that I have transformed into a glass body, I am most skilled in two things. First, soothing and repairing divine sense and divine soul injuries. However, this requires consuming my origin, so I can only do it occasionally. After worshipping the true immortal stone statue, the 100 Flowers Taoist knew that he had become connected to the statue. Li Fan could also sense his emotions through this. Therefore, the 100 Flowers Taoist did not dare to hide anything and honestly confessed, the second is to promote and nurture spiritual plants, herbs, and the like. Not only can it make them more active, but it also has a certain probability of giving birth to spirits. However, I observe that the spiritual energy in this world is all absorbed by the central spirit tree, so the number of spiritual plants is very small. Li Fan nodded. Indeed, the spirit tree world is very barren. The 100 Flowers Taoist breathed a sigh of relief. But it doesn't matter, our United Association has another base that can definitely meet fellow Taoist 100 Flowers' needs. Li Fan smiled slightly. The next moment, the 100 Flowers Taoist's eyes blurred. When she saw the scene in front of her clearly, her body couldn't help but tremble slightly again. A towering giant tree, much taller than the spirit tree of the spirit tree world, stood in the field of vision. The giant tree did not absorb all the nutrients in the world, but formed micro-ecosystems around its roots and even on the branches of the spirit tree. Countless plants, and spiritual herbs filled it. Dense and continuous, it stretched to the horizon. Even with her divine sense, she couldn't see the end in an instant. The extremely thick wood attribute spiritual energy almost choked the 100 Flowers Taoist. When had she ever seen such an amazing scene? In a trance, she thought she was in the legendary immortal realm. Where is this? After a long time, the 100 Flowers Taoist recovered. Not seeing Li Fan's figure, she looked around and asked. This is the Spirit Tree Grotto, one of the secret bases of the Myriad Realms United Association. I believe the abundance of spiritual plants here is enough for you to manage, fellow Taoist. Li Fan's voice rumbled in the world. The 100 Flowers Taoist opened her mouth, wanting to say something but stopped. The wood attribute spiritual energy here is so thick, where does she need to manage it? Just dig up any plant and it's a top quality material. However, sensing the other party's subtle threat, the 100 Flowers Taoist could only say bitterly, enough, enough. Haha, that's good. Although the resources in this grotto are slightly richer, it has been abandoned for too long and is a bit messy. I still need to trouble you to pay attention. After all, it will be used as the logistics base of the United Association in the future, so we must be cautious. Li Fan said earnestly. The 100 Flowers Taoist looked at the boundless grotto and nodded blankly. To carefully manage it once, even with my current ability, it will take at least 10 years, right? The 100 Flowers Taoist sighed. This envoy is a smiling tiger. However, the main body has been bound by the true immortal stone statue, and the glass body is still in the other party's control. Man is the knife and I am the fish, the 100 Flowers Taoist has to work hard. Fortunately, she liked to deal with these spiritual objects. This grotto didn't know how many years no cultivator had disturbed it. All the spiritual objects were growing gratifyingly, making people feel pity. The 100 Flowers Taoist processed the areas one by one, and her mood gradually improved. After an unknown amount of time, her movements were interrupted by a roar from the sky. The 100 Flowers Taoist looked up and saw a huge piece of land suddenly appearing and floating in the middle of the giant tree. Like a dark cloud, it covered the sky. Li Fan's voice came again, by the way, there are still many spiritual plants in another base. I have moved them all here for you, so you don't have to run back and forth. If it's convenient, why not transplant all of them to this grotto? After speaking, Li Fan's aura disappeared again. The 100 Flowers Taoist was stunned, flew into the sky, and almost couldn't catch her breath after seeing it. On this continent, there were still mountains and plains full of spiritual herbs. Moreover, they were all very old. There are formations to classify them, and they have all been planted for at least thousands of years. They can be called the best quality. This envoy, could it be that he emptied an ancient immortal sect? These are even more troublesome to deal with. Will the construction period be extended by another 5 years? The 100 Flowers Taoist's heart was full of helplessness. Li Fan sensed the 100 Flowers Taoist in his wood attribute grotto and nodded slightly. Although this 100 Flowers Taoist seems to have completely surrendered, she is still a long-lived cultivator who has been sleeping outside for I don't know how many years. Li Fan still can't completely trust her. Now, suppressing her in his own grotto, while also helping to manage the messy spiritual plants in the grotto, is really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Since Li Fan devoured the 5 Elements Great Grotto, his strength has improved again. The 5 Elements Grotto also continues to grow slowly, and the Wood Attribute Grotto continues to fall into a state of barbaric growth. The 100 Flowers Taoist came just in time. As for the continent full of spiritual plants that Li Fan later moved, it is the Medicine King sect's secret realm, Longevity Valley. Anyway, it is destined to be Li Fan's property, so it is better to transfer it to the Wood Attribute Grotto and deal with it together. It's not far from the return of the Medicine King Cauldron. The problem of insufficient manpower in the Myriad Realms United Association will soon be alleviated. Li Fan's vision seemed to penetrate the barriers of the small world and reach the sky of the Xuanwang realm. The storm brought about by the appearance of the 100 Flowers Taoist gradually subsided. A month later, Mo Rubin finally quietly contacted Li Fan. Brother Xingwang, that treasure that can deduce formations has been found. 997. Uneasy heart in the dark. Divine sense communication isn't convenient, so let's meet here. Also, I'll hand over that unique treasure to you. Hey, recently I've been feeling like someone's been watching me, so we still need to be careful. After Mo Rubin sent the location information, he suddenly disappeared without a trace again. Li Fan sensed the light spot of the map appearing in his sea of consciousness and remained silent. Is this a test, or a trap? Ever since making the decision to observe the situation for now and not return to reality yet, Li Fan had been feeling uneasy. But after thinking it over and examining himself, he still couldn't find the source of his unease. Not returning to reality for now shouldn't be a problem, but exactly. Li Fan frowned slightly. His intuition had always been very accurate. The current feeling was like walking in a dense forest, the direction was correct, and there was no immediate danger of wild beasts. But the crisis sensed in the dark told Li Fan that there must be something he was overlooking. Li Fan knew that the source of the problem should be the faceless true immortal stone statue. Profound Heaven Divine Statue, Profound Heaven Dharma King. Mo Rubin's figure suddenly flashed through Li Fan's mind, and he immediately made a decision. Although he probably sees me as one of his own now, I must take precautions. Li Fan recalled the scene of Mo Rubin devouring the transmitter Feng. During this period, Li Fan also conducted a preliminary analysis and guess of Mo Rubin's abilities. Compared to senior sister Zhao's united as one, Mo Rubin is more like mirroring, assimilation. As long as I can maintain my original heart and not be bewitched by that illusory mirror thread, I should be able to delay the assimilation time. I have the 7-colored divine light and the immortal heart mantra to protect me. If I really can't beat him, running shouldn't be a problem. If it really doesn't work, I can also release 100 Flowers Taoist to attract firepower. He's still in the Changsheng realm, so he should be able to block for a moment. The lingering and undetectable sense of unease made Li Fan's thoughts more complicated than usual. Therefore, he appeared more cautious. After making sufficient preparations, Li Fan quietly arrived at the agreed location. The border of the 4 central states of the Immortal Alliance, an unremarkable mountain in Tianshan State. The stone mountain was towering, reaching straight into the clouds. Hidden beneath the sea of clouds, there was an inconspicuous stone cave halfway up the mountain. At first, it was extremely narrow, barely enough for one person to pass through. After walking dozens of steps, it suddenly opened up. Mo Rubin had been waiting inside for a long time. There was no aura of formations or restrictions outside the stone cave, but it was impossible to sense the aura of cultivators inside from the outside. It wasn't until he stepped into the stone cave and came before Mo Rubin that he finally noticed it. This is one of the transmitter Feng's safe havens, a hidden cave heaven naturally formed by heaven and earth. It's the kind of place that only those with fate can find. There won't be any danger for the two of us to meet here. Mo Rubin had already changed back to his original appearance, sitting at the stone table, slowly explaining. What safe haven? I didn't encounter any obstacles and just swaggered in. Li Fan snorted and said disdainfully. Mo Rubin smiled. Brother Xingwang, you don't know. The reason why it was so easy is that I had already told you the location of this hidden cave heaven in advance. If you were to look for it alone without knowing anything, divine sense cannot detect it, and even if you see it with your own eyes, you will subconsciously ignore the entrance and search everywhere without finding it. The wonders of heaven and earth, even with our strength, cannot be fully understood. Li Fan ignored Mo Rubin's exclamation and said coldly and impatiently, okay, stop talking nonsense. Where is the unique treasure that can deduce formations? Mo Rubin shook his head, then casually threw an object over. Li Fan took it and was slightly stunned. The result was somewhat different from what he had expected. It wasn't one of the disintegration discs, but a green cube that he had never seen before. What is this thing? Li Fan gently touched the cube, and in an instant, the cube decomposed into tens of thousands of smaller cubes. Like living things, they gathered and dispersed in the air, forming regular patterns. Li Fan carefully observed one of the small cubes and found that it was actually composed of hundreds of formations. Array Crown. A name couldn't help but appear in Li Fan's mind. But he didn't reveal that he knew about this thing, just looked up at Mo Rubin, wanting an answer. This is the no-life array crown which was recently discovered and submitted by the Immortal Alliance in Lankang State. The so-called array crown, simply put, is the superposition of hundreds or thousands of formations. And this no-life array crown is constantly changing and evolving from an ordinary array crown. It is said to have been left by a transformation god formation master who died due to a strange event. After research by the Immortal Alliance, it was initially determined that the fusion of a natural treasure and strange extraterritorial rules caused the array crown itself to change. Mo Rubin explained in detail. Li Fan naturally understood what Mo Rubin meant immediately. Natural treasures are the manifestation of the laws of the Xuanwang world, and strangeness is the distortion and residue of the laws of those devoured worlds. But after the two are fused, some incredible changes will occur. Previously, when Li Fan understood the true source of strangeness, he had imagined this possibility. Unfortunately, he hadn't encountered any examples for so long. Unexpectedly, Mo Rubin took it out casually. As expected, with the advantage of the resources that the transmitter can mobilize, it is something that he cannot make up for in a short time despite his multiple reincarnations and foresight. Li Fan knew about this thing, but Sun Xingwang couldn't possibly know. Pretending to be overwhelmed, he directly interrupted Mo Rubin's speech. Okay, stop chanting. Just tell me how to use this thing. The number life array crown is constantly in the process of derivation. It uses arrays to generate arrays, until infinity. You only need to inscribe the profound heaven-locking seclusion formation into it every once in a while and let it evolve naturally. It's like beasts fighting, the one who survives in the end must be the strongest. Mo Rubin was not annoyed and explained to Li Fan. That's easy, but it sounds a little unreliable, Li Fan muttered, looking at the green no-life array crown. There's no problem. Although it's a bit uncontrollable, it can definitely achieve our purpose. Inscribing the profound heaven-locking seclusion formation is time-consuming and laborious. I'm now at the headquarters of the Immortal Alliance, under the watchful eyes of the public, so it's not convenient for me to act. I can only leave it to you, Mo Rubin said solemnly. Actually, there is another unique treasure, which is even stronger than this no-life array crown in deducing formations, called the disintegration disk. It's a pity that it suffered heavenly jealousy and was divided into 9. The time required for the 9 disks to be combined is too long, and we really can't wait. We have to give up, Mo Rubin said regretfully. 998. Incarnation of the Profound Realm. Li Fan's eyes flickered. There's such a treasure. It doesn't matter if we can't use them for now, let's collect them first. Lest they fall into the hands of others in the future and be used to crack the profound heaven-locking nether. Mo Rubin pondered for a moment, then nodded. Brother Xingwang is right. Such a powerful tool should not be leaked. When I get back, I will arrange it. Li Fan took the opportunity to let out a series of low, sinister laughter. By the way, Brother Xingwang, besides strengthening the profound heaven-locking nether formation, I have another matter that I need your help with. It concerns the profound heaven treasure mirror, and after thinking about it, I only feel relieved if you take action. Mo Rubin suddenly said. Humph, we are all brothers, why be so polite? Li Fan was a little dissatisfied and glared at Mo Rubin. This matter seemed even more important. Mo Rubin pondered for a moment, and set up another layer of restriction around him. Then he quietly said, according to my latest investigation, during these years that the Myriad Immortals Alliance has controlled the profound heaven treasure mirror, it is very likely that it has split off a human avatar. I need you to find this avatar, kill it, and completely cut off its retreat. A trace of killing intent flashed in Mo Rubin's eyes. And Li Fan looked very surprised after hearing this. The profound heaven treasure mirror split off a human avatar. How is that possible? Mo Rubin said in a deep voice. When I first learned about this, I was also shocked. But later I thought, it may be precisely because of the semi-forced, semi-cooperative factors that the profound heaven treasure mirror completely integrated into the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Immortal artifacts have spirits, and naturally they are unwilling to be driven forever. It is reasonable to split off a human body and try to break the situation. Brother Xingwang, don't worry, in order to prevent the Myriad Immortals Alliance from noticing, the human body split off by the profound heaven treasure mirror will definitely not be too strong. With your strength, as long as you successfully find it, you will definitely be able to kill it successfully. I will lend you another magic weapon to ensure peace of mind. As he said that, Mo Rubin took out an extremely dark metal booklet. This is the ink-dyed evil book, which has miraculous effects against artifact spirits and magic weapons. As long as the opponent is locked, it will release thousands of ink-colored rays of light to pollute it. Brother Xingwang, if you hold this treasure again, there is absolutely no possibility of failure. It's just an avatar, even without this ink-dyed evil book, I can kill it. Although Li Fan said so, he still put away the black book magic weapon. But then he frowned. The key is where to find the profound heaven treasure mirror's avatar. It must be hidden very deep. Is there enough time? Mo Rubin had a well-thought-out plan. The transmitter had already noticed the splitting of the profound heaven treasure mirror's avatar. Therefore, he had already started a secret investigation, but he had not gained any definite results. But not long ago, the subordinate of the transmitter Feng finally found decisive evidence. Only I know about this matter at the moment, and it has not been reported to the Transmitter Council. Oh, Li Fan put on an interested expression. The heavenly profound treasure mirror has always been taken care of by the mirror holder. If it is said that splitting off a human body is impossible without the mirror holder as an internal ghost. It has been preliminarily determined that the mirror holder, Kang, is the internal ghost. Kang's daughter is the well-known Scarlet Snow Immortal Venerable in the Immortal Alliance. This woman became pregnant for no reason several years ago and gave birth to a son. I suspect that it may be related to the profound heaven treasure mirror. Mo Rubin recounted. Are you saying that the son of that scarlet snow immortal Venerable is the profound heaven treasure mirror's incarnation? Li Fan narrowed his eyes. The appearance of Shuafeng immediately appeared in his mind. That possibility cannot be ruled out. But back then, Scarlet Snow first held a martial arts competition to recruit a husband, which caused a lot of noise. Then she suddenly became pregnant, causing shock to the world. It's too high profile. It's like deliberately acting to attract attention. So it may also be a smokescreen, using Shuafeng to hide the real profound heaven treasure mirror avatar. In short, no matter what, their family must be inseparable from the profound heaven mirror. Because not long ago, we discovered that the data of Scarlet Snow in the treasure mirror, one of which only the profound heaven treasure mirror has the authority to modify, has changed without any modification records in the treasure mirror. Mo Rubin explained. Scarlet Snow immortal Venerable, how strong is she? Li Fan didn't delve into the specific reasons, but asked directly. Her strength is mediocre, but she is good at refining weapons. Kang dotes on her very much and supplies unlimited resources, which has allowed her to learn a remarkable skill in refining weapons. But after all, it's just a small skill. Brother Xingwang, you are the most proficient in divine soul attacks. If you catch her off guard, she will definitely not be your opponent. Mo Rubin seemed very confident in Sun Xingwang. I am proficient in divine soul attacks. Li Fan was slightly startled at this moment, and then suddenly realized, that's right. Seeing this, Mo Rubin thought for a while, and finally added another sentence. If Brother Xingwang is really not sure at that time, summon the demon god avatar that I am attached to. At that time, I can transmit a part of my power. If we join forces, she will have no chance of survival. As he said that, Mo Rubin transmitted the internal investigation report of the transmitter on the Kang lineage. Unlike ordinary large forces, which are intricate, there are only Kang, Scarlet Snow, and Shuafeng, a single line of inheritance. But the vast resources they hold, as revealed in the report alone, are shocking. All the places that Scarlet Snow frequents have been marked. She dotes on her son Shuafeng extremely, and summons him to meet every once in a while. And they are often in the cave outside the Immortal Alliance Heavenly City. So it's best to wait until they meet and wipe them out in one fell swoop, Mo Rubin said in a deep voice. Li Fan nodded in response. As long as the profound heaven treasure mirror's avatar is killed and its retreat is cut off, and then forced with the sealing spirit formation, we can talk to the profound heaven treasure mirror. Otherwise, this guy is still very arrogant. Mo Rubin's tone was somewhat displeased. Arrogant, huh? Li Fan then thought of the very familiar cold mechanical voice of the heavenly profound mirror. The two continued to discuss the details of the action, and then Mo Rubin prepared to leave. Just as he was about to walk out of this hidden cave, Li Fan suddenly asked, after thousands of years, now that you and I, brothers, have reunited, why not rejoin the Red Dust Compassionate True Immortal Sect? As he said that, the phantom of a faceless stone statue slowly emerged in the air. Mo Rubin looked up at it, and subconsciously retreated slightly. A trace of imperceptible fear flashed in his eyes, but Mo Rubin did not speak. He just shook his head and then drifted away. Brother Xingwang, before leaving, you may wish to take a closer look at this cave. Perhaps there will be some gains. The voice slowly echoed in the cave, and Mo Rubin's figure had disappeared. After Li Fan was silent for a moment, he observed the cave again. In an inconspicuous corner, he found a spider web that had appeared at some unknown time. 999. Once you enter the net, you can't escape. Li Fan was quite certain that this hidden cave didn't have this spiderweb before Mo Rubin left. Appearing suddenly, is this an implication for me? There was no spider, the weaver, on the web, as if it had appeared out of thin air. Under Li Fan's gaze, a butterfly fluttered its wings and landed on the spiderweb. The butterfly didn't sense any danger, it even felt quite comfortable, crawling back and forth on the web with its antennae. This spiderweb was also different from ordinary ones, it didn't stick to the butterfly. It was also very sturdy, without even a slight tremor. The butterfly was having a lot of fun on the spiderweb. But it couldn't possibly live on the spiderweb forever, it still needed to find food and sustain itself. So the butterfly flapped its wings again, wanting to fly away. But just as it was about to leave the spiderweb, something happened that made Li Fan's pupils shrink. As if sensing the butterfly's departure, the originally harmless spiderweb suddenly tightened. An inexplicable suction force arose, immediately pulling the butterfly back. Caught off guard, the butterfly's fragile body couldn't withstand the pulling of this immense force, and it was instantly torn into countless fragments. It was absorbed and evenly scattered on the pure white spiderweb. In the blink of an eye, it was absorbed by the spiderweb, the body's remnants merging with the spiderweb, no longer distinguishable. And the spiderweb remained quietly in the corner, as if the previous change had never happened. Li Fan, who had watched the whole process, took a deep breath. Such a straightforward implication, how could he not see where the place he had been ignoring all along, the source of the unease in his heart, came from? His previous deduction was actually not wrong. Like a butterfly straying into a spiderweb, the faceless true immortal should not be interested in the weak Li Fan. Whether it was borrowing the power of the stone statue to bluff or wandering around under the stone statue's eyes, it wouldn't attract the true immortal's attention. If he maintained this state from beginning to end, there would indeed be no problem. But if he wanted to escape the control of the true immortal's power, or suddenly show strength that even the true immortal was interested in, I'm afraid the ending would be like that butterfly, instantly backlashed and torn into countless pieces. Comparing Li Fan's situation, in this life, a nascent soul realm, Tao harmonization battle power, continuing to jump around with the help of the faceless true immortal stone statue, wouldn't be a big problem. But if he chose to return to reality, like a butterfly flapping its wings in the spiderweb, it could immediately arouse the vigilance of that faceless true immortal. How fast would the true immortal's reaction be? Could it affect or even hinder the process of returning to reality? Li Fan had no way of guessing. However, when the immortal of the immortal ruins in the 115th life destroyed Xuanlong with a glance, affected by his power, the scenery around Li Fan didn't immediately become illusory after he returned to reality. After that, a black domain appeared, and time outside the black domain was still flowing. Perhaps this could, to some extent, illustrate that when strength reached or approached the level of the nameless true immortal, it could have a certain impact on the operation of returning to reality. Most importantly, Li Fan had been chosen by the faceless stone statue as a proxy-like role. Even golden wish power would appear in his body. It could be said that he was deeply entangled in the web. There was almost no difference from being in front of the true immortal. Perhaps the true immortal wouldn't look at the ants under his feet, but when the ants burst into light, it would inevitably attract the true immortal's attention. Quote. After thinking for a long time, Li Fan couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, the intuition in the dark didn't let me return to reality immediately before. Otherwise, facing the true immortal head-on without any psychological preparation. Even with Li Fan's current awareness, he had to say, ominous luck. After a brief shock, Li Fan calmed his mind. The unease that had been lingering in his heart slowly dissipated, and there was even less fear in his heart. Because of the unknown, there was fear. When he knew the source of the threat, Li Fan calmed down instead. Actually, it's not as desperate as imagined. After all, it's not a direct confrontation with the true immortal, but to find a way to successfully return to reality in front of the true immortal. This life has just begun, and there is still a long time, enough for me to think. When I was building my foundation, I could safely return to reality in front of Tianyi. Now that my strength is comparable to Tao harmonization, how can I not return to reality in front of the true immortal? Li Fan's thoughts slowly calmed down, the panic in his eyes disappeared, only like a dark pool, unfathomable. At this moment, in the spiderweb of this hidden cave, subtle changes occurred again. Another butterfly, gracefully fluttering, landed on the spiderweb. As with what had happened before, it was unaware of the danger of being trapped in the giant web. But this time, when the butterfly was about to flap its wings and leave, something different happened. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and the spiderweb itself shook violently. Therefore, that strange suction force did not occur. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the butterfly quickly flapped its wings and left, disappearing into the air, like a play. After these two scenes were finished, the spiderweb, the butterfly, and the wind all disappeared in an instant. Looking around, Li Fan couldn't find any trace of their existence in this hidden cave. This trick is indeed somewhat skillful. However, what Li Fan cared about was not how Mo Rubin displayed this scene, but the deeper meaning behind it. Whether it's the stone statue or the myriad spirit immortal do, Mo Rubin is afraid of avoiding them. Plus his implication, it's clear that he already knows the consequences of falling into the true immortal's web. But from the current situation, he has already escaped from the true immortal's web. The scene of a gust of wind blowing and a butterfly flapping its wings and leaving reappeared in front of Li Fan. And he also vaguely noticed the place he had previously ignored. The faceless stone statue, as the totem of the Xuantian sect, should have been common in the Xuantian sect in the past. But in the memory of Ji Yuzhen, the Dharma king of the Xuantian sect, Li Fan had never seen the shadow of the faceless true immortal stone statue. Either there was no stone statue in the Xuantian sect at that time, or some force has directly cut off the existence and influence of the stone statue. Thinking of this, Li Fan couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Happening to both Dharma kings at the same time, this kind of cutting is not accidental. It seems that there are still more secrets buried in the event of the Xuantian sect's destruction. And Mo Rubin, who deeply understands the horror of the true immortal's power, doesn't even dare to speak directly. He can only imply it with this abstract method. Li Fan's heart couldn't help but become heavier. It seems that this life needs to break the situation, and I still need to get help from Mo Rubin. Let's cooperate with him to complete the coercion of the Tianquan mirror first. Thinking like this, Li Fan floated away. My condition hasn't been very good recently, there's only one update today. 1000. Read the secret history of the Zan family. Back in the Spirit Wood realm, Li Fan began analyzing the information Mo Rubin had given him about the mirror holder lineage, open black lens bracket Azure close black lens bracket. The part about Azure himself was actually not much. It only stated that Azure was also a survivor of the Great Tribulation. When Celestial Venerable Xuanfa re-established the Myriad Immortals Alliance, in addition to the Xuanfa disciples responding one after another, this Azure, a wise man submits to circumstances, also ascended to prominence in one step because he was the first to surrender. Of course, the Xuanfa disciples analyzed that Azure's ability to become a mirror holder must have other factors involved. He must have had a very special reason to be chosen by Celestial Venerable Xuanfa. Regarding Azure's daughter, Immortal Venerable Feishui Xuansu Shang, the information was significantly more plentiful. Zan Su Shang was born before Azure joined the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Her mother died in a cultivator's battle when she was very young in order to protect Azure. Father and daughter depended on each other, so Azure was extremely fond of Zan Su Shang. Especially after Azure gradually gained power, he was even more generous with his rewards to Zan Su Shang. According to incomplete statistics, Zan Su Shang had more than 200 cave dwellings and territories of various sizes just in the 4 central states of the Immortal Alliance. This did not include the offerings from the various families that were attached to Zan Su Shang. It is said that Zan Su Shang's cultivation talent was actually average, but at her level, even if her talent was poor, it could be compensated for with sufficient resources. Especially under the framework of the new law, Zan Su Shang cultivated smoothly all the way to the Tao harmonization realm. It is said that on the day she refined the heaven and earth soul, Feishui, Azure sent 5 Tao harmonization experts to escort her, ensuring that nothing would go wrong. After Zan Su Shang advanced to Tao harmonization, she finally gained a little more freedom. Previously, Azure did not allow her to leave the jurisdiction of the 4 central states of the Immortal Alliance. And wherever she went, he would send people to follow her. Therefore, after being liberated, Zan Su Shang spent nearly 100 years traveling through most of the Myriad Immortals Alliance territories. Her specific whereabouts during this period could only be investigated in general terms. After having enough fun, Zan Su Shang finally calmed down. Perhaps because of her interests, she began to devote herself to studying the art of refining. The Immortal Alliance's refinement hall was completely open to her, and Zan Su Shang was able to learn the most advanced refinement knowledge of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Her refinement level also improved by leaps and bounds. She became famous all over the world by successfully refining an unparalleled battle armor that could successfully withstand the joint attack of 5 Tao harmonization experts. After that, it seemed that because she had enough fun, she gradually became low-key. Except for frequent interactions with a few close friends such as Lu Shichen, the chief of the Strategy Formation Hall, she basically did not appear in the public eye at other times. Until she suddenly sent out the news of a martial arts competition to recruit a husband, which once again shocked the world. Then, no one came to challenge, and finally, the farce ended with Zan Su Shang's inexplicable pregnancy. Zan Su Shang's son is Shuo Feng. As if appearing out of thin air, there was no 10 months of pregnancy, nor any information about his father. Just like Azure's somewhat deformed love for Zan Su Shang, Zan Su Shang's discipline of Shuo Feng was also almost harsh. According to the information, Shuo Feng had never left the cave dwelling in Tianquan State until he reached the nascent soul stage. He could only peek at the outside world through the Tianquan mirror. This situation was alleviated after Shuofeng successfully transformed into a spirit and struggled hard. However, Shuofeng still had to wear the golden battle armor specially refined for him by Zhan Susheng whenever he went out. According to the secret investigation of the Xuanfa disciples, this golden battle armor not only had a perverted defense capability, enough to withstand the joint attack of more than a dozen Dao harmonization cultivators. Even the divine soul was defended as solid as gold. After the golden battle armor disintegrated due to damage, it could also directly transfer Shuofeng to a safe location. Every once in a while, Shuofeng has to report to Immortal Venerable Feishui and pay his respects. Although their meeting place is not fixed, only notified in advance. But it can also be inferred the most likely ones. Next time, it should be in 23 days. Li Fan looked at the names and information of the 5 cave dwellings that were circled, and couldn't help but sigh slightly. Even at my speed of earning contribution points, it would probably take more than 10 years to buy such a cave dwelling. This kid, he doesn't know how much he has from birth. Li Fan's eyes once again flashed with Shuofeng's face. At this point in time, he should not have completely planned to rebuild, and is still in the spirit transformation realm. I don't know what kind of stimulation he received to make such an impulsive decision. In fact, the most stable way is to wait for the rabbit at the sword tomb of the Heavenly Sword Sect and capture him without anyone knowing. It's a pity that there's not enough time. And Zhan Susheng has to be captured together. The transformation Dao stone in his mind kept flashing blue light, and Li Fan began to deduce by integrating the various forces he had in his hands. If it's just to trap and capture alive, it shouldn't be a big problem. Even if I am barely enough alone, let alone with the help of Tianyang and Baihua. But Mo Ruben still has to be pulled in together. Zhan Susheng and Shuofeng, the various moves, magical powers, and general information about their cultivation techniques used during their cultivation and martial arts in the Tianshuan mirror, all appeared in front of Li Fan. Comparing the strength of the enemy and ourselves, one after another possible future scenes kept flashing in Li Fan's mind. As the direct descendants of the mirror holder, they should be very clear that the information in the Tianshuan mirror is by no means a secret. I believe that their true combat power is definitely more than this on the surface. Fortunately, I also have many trump cards. After a day and a night of deduction, Li Fan was almost confident about this raid. Next, it was to wait for the arrival of the best time to strike. While waiting, Li Fan took out the Wusheng Array crown and the Mo Dai Evil book given by Mo Ruben to study. The Wusheng Array crown was like a living thing. Under a rough scan of the divine sense, the internal array composition was like countless beasts fighting each other, devouring and evolving each other. The efficiency was naturally not comparable to the disintegration disc with 9 discs combined, but it also gave Li Fan a new inspiration. If Mo Ruben's side failed to seek the disintegration disc, perhaps the ultimate disintegration disc could be split into 2 again to let them fight each other. Maybe deducing a new technique would be more efficient. Li Fan tried to feed the Wusheng Array crown to the disintegration disc, but unfortunately, the disintegration disc was not interested in it at all. It didn't even bother to look at it. On the contrary, feeling the aura of the ultimate disintegration disc, the countless magic arrays that made up the Wusheng Array crown suddenly became restless. Li Fan shook his head slightly and directly suppressed and sealed this treasure. It's barely a good thing, but it's useless to me. The advanced version of the Xuantian spirit sealing array has already been deduced, wanting array deduction treasures is just an excuse.